Hi everybody, I'm Mike Maas. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight, where we highlight IPFW athletics. Our program is brought to you by our good friends over at Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street, across from Scott's Foods. Well, as we tape this edition of Mastodon Spotlight, the 2004-2005 school year is history. Classes are over with, and hopefully everyone did well in the classroom. The athletic season is winding down. Most of the spring sports have completed their play for the season. However, there are a couple of teams that are still active, and we want to begin this week by talking first and foremost about Billy Gernon's baseball team. Billy's team, as we speak, they are at the 500 mark. They are 20-20 on the year. They've had some tough going the last week or so, week and a half. They've lost 5 out of 6, but when you consider that 4 of those losses are by 1 run and 1 of those is in extra innings, they've been very, very competitive. They still have several games to play. This week they'll be playing Butler University, Eastern Illinois, 3 games with Ohio University. 4 of those games are on the road. Just the Eastern Illinois game is at home. And then next week they will close out their schedule. They'll have a home game against Ball State next Tuesday the 17th. And then on Wednesday they are in Milwaukee to take on University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee for a doubleheader. And then on Thursday the 19th they'll conclude their season at Illinois of Chicago. A couple of other quick notes about baseball. Again, 20-20, a very good year for Billy Gernon's squad. They have a number of players that are statistically high in all of NCAA Division I baseball. We mentioned it on a recent show as well. Ryan Keena in the top 10 for getting hit by a pitch. Hitting, at last report, IPFW 17th in the country in team batting average. Sean Kirk individually was as high as 10th in the country in hitting. He slipped a little bit, but he's still batting .390 on the year. Those are some of the categories that IPFW is up. It's about 6 or 7 all total. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, once the season is completed, we hope to sit down with Billy Gernon and do a review of a successful baseball season. But that's baseball. Women's track and field still is competing. A quick note, last weekend at the Gina Relays at Hillsdale College up in Hillsdale, Michigan, Ashley Ritchie, sophomore from Leo, again, running great. She won the 3,000-meter run in a time of 10:25:08, and that bettered the school record by over 22 seconds. Phenomenal year for Ashley. She's been breaking records left and right. Lauren Simpson, a junior from Northrop High School, she's getting very, very close to qualifying for the NCAA meet in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. She ran an 11:02:95 at the Gina Relays. That beats her record by just over 10 seconds, and she's just 10 seconds away from qualifying for the NCAA meet. And then finally, also in track and field, a couple of things. Lori Grimm and Nicole Crone at the Gina Relays both bettered the previous record for the shot put. Lori had 11.64 meters, and Nicole was 11.57. The previous record set earlier this year by Nicole at Indiana State was 11.40. So congratulations to those ladies. They will be participating this weekend at the Division I independent track meet out in Sacramento, California. So we wish Coach Mike Frucci and his women's squad the best of luck as they go out west. Men's volleyball completed their season, but Arnie Ball's Volleydons really showed themselves well in the MIVA postseason tournament. In the semifinals, they went to Loyola of Chicago and knocked off the number 1 seed Ramblers, winning 15-11 in Game 5. That set them up for a chance at the MIVA postseason championship and a berth in the Final Four. Unfortunately, the Ohio State Buckeyes had other ideas, and Ohio State won that match in 4. Ohio State went on to the Final Four, and IPFW finishes up 13-17, 8-8 in conference play. And by the way, Pepperdine defeated UCLA on UCLA's home floor for the national championship. But congratulations to Arnie Ball's Volleydons. We will talk about other sports in the coming next couple of weeks, talk about those seasons with their respective coaches. But now, what we want to do, something that we've done in the past, is we want to take a look back at some of our graduating seniors. And the first retrospective that you're going to see this week is a retrospective of men's volleyball. One senior on the team, Matt Zbyszewski, and then following that, a trio of ladies who gave it their all for 4 years, and in one case 5 years here at IPFW, as Janelle Pollard, Lindy Bankowski, and Lindsay Brammer were spotlighted. And that's what you're going to see next, and then I'll come back with a final word on this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Mastodon Spotlight will continue in a moment right here on College 56 Sports.
Hello, I'm Matt Zbyszewski. I'm a senior on the IPFW men's volleyball team. I'm a fifth-year senior majoring in geology. Okay, I found out about IPFW from one of my friends. We played on the provincial team, which is kind of like an all-state team up in Canada, and one of my friends whose brother played volleyball at Penn State had a tape of the Final Four from '99 with IPFW playing, and that was my first exposure to this, to the name of the school at least. And we watched that match. It was a really good game, and that's how I remembered the school name when my senior year came. And my mom actually told me to email some schools and see in the States, see what comes out of it. And IPFW was the first school that I remembered about emailing. So I emailed Coach Ball.
Matty's attraction is twofold. One, of course, is his size. He's about 6'4", 6'5", but his the second and most important thing was his ability to jump quickly off the floor. When we look for players, we look for quickness, and he is one of the gliders, as we call them, one of the people that jumps off the floor, leaves the floor very easily, glides through the air, and is able to do things. A lot of people have to struggle to do that. So when we first saw him play, that was very important. Of course, some additions to that is his knowledge of the game, because he comes from a strong background. He originally comes from the country of Poland, where volleyball is very, very popular, and his dad knows a lot about volleyball, so he had a lot of experience in that regard. So that's kind of an addition to the fact that he's very athletic.
He was pretty much kind of like a father figure, like a person that looked after me and helped me out through the years, and was a big help during my sophomore year when I tore my ACL, and was very supportive of me and stuff like that. So definitely in that aspect, he helped me out a lot mentally, I guess, with the mental part of the game, not to mention the physical part of the game, which, he's a great coach and has taught me a ton over the years.
In describing Matty off the court, I would say that he has grown dramatically, I think, since he came to IPFW. When he first came here, I think that we alluded to the fact that he was kind of the Pillsbury doughboy, a real soft-spoken, mama's boy. And this is something he and I have talked about all the time, so it's no big deal. Well, maybe a big deal, but I'm going to say it anyhow. And I think he's grown dramatically in that regard. Matty has done an unbelievable job of going through some very difficult times of having 2 ACL repairs. The first one was very traumatic, and the second one probably was even more traumatic when he did it against Santa Barbara, when I think that probably I played him maybe too early and too long. But his work ethic, excuse me, and his determination to come back from those are unprecedented.
Well, the ultimate plan, I guess, is to play volleyball for as long as I can. Yeah, I guess play volleyball, that's what I like the most, Everybody always dreams of having a profession that they like. So, and mine would definitely be playing volleyball. I mean, I grew up playing volleyball. I've played volleyball here for 5 years. That's what I know best. So, and it's fun at the same time. So definitely my ultimate goal would be to play professionally for as long as I can, and then hopefully use my geology degree to work as a geologist. Well, my teammates were definitely important to me. Well, I guess they're important to everybody on the team, but just somebody to talk to, especially right when you get to school is, I think, when you form your best friendships at university, because the first person you live with or whatnot the first guys you meet on the team and the guys you grow with through the years.
I guess I would tell Matty to continue to work hard and learn. All the players who leave here end up being better players the next year and the year after and the year after, which frustrates us coaches, but we understand the process. And that happens because of the maturation process of experience. It happens the maturation process of just physically getting stronger and more mature. So we would hope that he would continue to grow and develop not only as a player, but as a person.
Being part of volleyball and having 6 guys on the court at once and 12, 15 guys on the team, you know, you kind of bond together and learn to work as a team, which is definitely one thing that I got out of volleyball.
Matty's parents are wonderful, as almost all the parents we deal with are. Matty's parents have been involved. You know, they make a drive down here from Toronto, Canada. It's typically about a 7-hour drive. I think Matty's dad makes it in about 5 because he drives way too fast. But he and his mom, Matty's mom and dad, have been very, very supportive not only of Matty, but of our program, and they've become very close friends to my wife and I and the rest of our coaching staff. It's always a pleasure to have friendships develop, and has been the same way for the past 25 years as it has with Matty's mom and dad, to develop through the relationships of working with their sons or daughters. We want to personally thank Matty for all his efforts that he's put in as he's developed as a player, to an All-American player, to an All-Conference player, to an outstanding player here at IPFW, and following the tradition that we have, and certainly being the role model, and I say that in all honesty and love in regards to Matty. He certainly has been a role model of the student athlete, as he's been an outstanding student in the classroom and an outstanding player, student athlete on the volleyball court, and we wish him the very best, and thank you, Matty.
Well, I guess there's a ton of people that I'd like to thank that I met over the years. You know, obviously the coaching staff, Coach Ball, Coach Johnson, Coach Franke, Rock, and before that my freshman year, Schmidlin and Ryan Staley. You know, they've all helped out quite a bit with me, both, like I said, both physically and mentally. They've been like a family. Oh, I definitely want to thank my family. My parents have been very supportive of me over the years. You know, I live quite a ways away, but they always somehow find time to come here for all my games. And you know, when I tore my ACL, they were there supporting me, and they never gave up. And you know, I love them for that. Oh, I love you, Mom.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Our three seniors are our three captains, and it's worked out that way for the last several years because we've just happened to have captains who've been committed to our seniors who've been committed to our program.
At first we were just trying to stay up to our competition, and we just had to drill hard, focus, just try not to get killed in every game just because the competition was so much higher. But now I think that we're just kind of rolling with the other teams, and we're getting our wins now, and the team's just a lot stronger as the years have gone past.
When I first came, I really didn't know much about, college or volleyball or, but the team just seemed a lot more serious. And I mean, we were good, and I love all those people that we played with, but it just seems like it's gotten more comfortable. People are understanding their roles and know what's going on, and it's just more comfortable now and more fun-oriented than, serious and you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I mean, we all know we still have to do our jobs and do what we need to do, but it just seems more comfortable and more fun.
I'd always intended to play college sports. That was a dream of mine. I wanted to actually play basketball before I wanted to play volleyball, but my senior year, it kind of changed for me. My junior year, my high school volleyball coach died unexpectedly, and we had a new coach my senior year. And at that time, I didn't actually think that I wanted to move on with sports in my life. I just wasn't as passionate about it. But my senior year, we went to state and we won, and we were total underdogs. And that was the most memorable day of my life, and it was a point where I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And that year, later in the spring, Coach Hartley offered me a full scholarship to come play, and I was thrilled, and I took it right away, and I didn't even hesitate or think about it. I was real excited to come.
I met Lindy when I was in high school because I was a player in the same county where she grew up, and her mother was a coach. So we'd have these open gyms where kids would get together in the summer and just play, and her mom would unlock their high school gym, Bedford High School, and this tiny little thing would run around and chase balls barefoot. Lindy was, I don't know, 4 years old maybe the first time I laid eyes on her. And then watching her in high school, during the recruiting process, she was born practically with a volleyball in her hand and lived to play and always played for good teams and competed at a high level. And she would take her teams to the state tournament, won a state title her senior year, Class A in Michigan, as a 5-4 setter. And the things we knew she could do for us is work very hard and play backcourt defense. And those are the types of things at least I look for in a setter. Lindy's role from the beginning has been a starter. She was kind of thrust into that position as a freshman, and I'm not certain she was 100% ready, but we had recruited another setter who just didn't show up last minute. So Lindy wasn't 100% healthy over the summer. I think she had her wisdom teeth or something out her freshman year, and she showed up for summer workouts and I don't know, weighed maybe a buck, and some of the seniors on our team at that time were pretty tough, and they were like, this is supposed to be our setter, she looks like she's in junior high, but she showed them very quickly that, she's a hard worker and she can get it done. Lindsay Brammer has been a starter for our team for 4 years too. She has started in the middle, mainly, and then this year we moved her to the right side for the bulk of the season, even though we do put her in the middle sometimes. What I like about her on the right side is as many times we can put her on or try and match her up with the other team's strongest outside hitter. And of course that's where a lot of sets go, is to the outside. So if we can get Lindsay on their best hitter, we feel like we have a pretty good chance at shutting down a strong opponent on the other side. And offensively, Lindsay's become more and more active every year. Janelle Power's role has changed a lot over the last 4 years. She's had a lot of good matches for us wearing the IPFW uniform. We've won a lot of matches with Janelle on the floor as a starter, and now she's a sub. We're talking about rehabbing after a knee surgery and not being 100%. So her role as a sub this year, I'm sure it's not what I would have liked for her senior year. I'm sure that's not what she would have liked her senior year, but she's handled it, I think, as best as she possibly can. She's always been ready to go in. She's very supportive of our whole team, including those two players who are playing a position that she held down for 3 years. She broke a school record for hitting percentage with a 79 hitting percentage against Oakland. 12 kills, 1 attempt, or 1 error in 14 attempts, off the bench.
Last season I tore my meniscus and had surgery last spring, and I didn't get to play last spring at all, and kind of worked hard to try and get back into shape and get my knee strong again, and worked hard this summer, and I don't think I'm back to what I was, but I'm still working hard and still trying to play. My major is psychology, and when I tell people that, some people laugh, but I am going on after I'm done here to get my graduate or my master's in sports psychology. I would love to work with a professional team, but most likely coming right out of school I probably won't. But working with a Division I volleyball team or a football team would be great.
My high point of my career was just a few weeks ago when I actually blocked the 6'3" girl from Marshall, was it? Yeah. I think I have about 2 solo blocks in my career, and I think she's ranked about 15th in the nation in kills, something like that. And I blocked her by myself, and usually my team gets really excited and I'm just like, okay, yeah. But I had a pretty big smile on my face and I was pretty excited about that one. I'm majoring in secondary education, social studies with concentration in psychology, and my supporting areas are sociology and U.S. history. I'll graduate this May, and I plan to hopefully move back to Michigan and find a teaching, maybe coaching job there.
This year I've got the opportunity, I played middle my whole life, middle blocker, and this year I've gotten the opportunity to move to right side, and I think even one game I played outside, and it's great being able to play different positions, and no matter where I'm at, I'm just glad to be on the court. I like all the positions. I've had a lot of fun this year, and all the girls on our team are really nice, and we have a lot of fun together. After I'm finished with college, my plans are to hopefully become a secondary English teacher or special ed, and I would love to end up coaching a sport in the high school level.
I've developed a lot of good relationships over the years with my teammates. They've always been there, and we're always hanging out together. Coach calls it our cult of Canterbury usually because we all live together, and everywhere we go it's a big group of volleyball girls. And even the other athletes I've developed relationships with too, and I just think it's good network of friendships that I've developed, and I'll probably keep in touch with these people over time.
First, we want to thank the parents and the fans for all their support, but also we'd like to thank Nicole, Fabi, Amanda, and Claire for showing us the moral of being on time, for Chris for letting us know when the ball's up, and Coach for sacrificing your eyeball to get us pumped up all the time. We know it's a little painful, but thank you.
Erica, we'd like to thank you for always taking perfect stats. Steve-O, I'd like to just personally thank you for nailing me in the face with the ball during warm-ups. I still kind of have a little twitch every now and then on that side. And Scotty, we'd like to thank you for telling us what this means so that we know that you're not mad at us, you're just concentrating.
Jenny, we'd like to personally thank you for keeping it old school and bringing back the bun huggers. Sanar and Fabi, thank you for trying to stay deep. And Peachy, thank you for the armrest. You know what we're talking about. And Ashley, I'd like to personally thank you for trying to yell as loud as me, even though you know it will never happen. And one last thing,
Go Dons!
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed our look back at the careers of Matt Spashewski and Lindsey Brammer, Lindy Bankowski, and Janelle Pollard as they provided a lot of excitement for volleyball fans here at IPFW. Well, that will just about do it for this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight. On next week's show, we're going to take a look back at basketball as we'll take a look back at both the men's and women's basketball seniors. There was one senior for men, David Simon, and for the women, Varia Bibbs and Courtney Nicely finished up their collegiate careers. So we'll take a look back at those three seniors and who knows what else. And again, in the coming weeks after that, we'll be visiting with Kelly Hartley-Hutton for women's volleyball, Eric Burns for men's and women's tennis, Terry Stefankowitz and or Mike Harper. We're going to talk about men's and women's soccer and the upcoming, believe it or not, 2005 Soccer Showcase. Bruce Patterson and or Chris Paul will stop by to talk about women's basketball. We hope to have the new head men's basketball coach, Dane Fife, come on board. We also hope to have Jeff Marsh and his assistant Kim Moore representing men's and women's golf. And last but not least, before we are done come the end of June, we hope to have a nice sit-down chat with Athletic Director Mark Pope. But that's ahead in the coming weeks. So Mastodon Spotlight's not going away just yet. Even though the school year is over, we want to, again, spotlight and highlight IPFW athletics, and we will do so in the next few weeks. But again, that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed a look back at volleyball. We invite you to come back again next week for another edition of the program. But until then, for our sponsor, Ryan Steakhouse. Again, they're located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. This is Mike Maas saying, have a great week and continue to go Dons. Hi everybody, I'm Mike Maas, host of Mastodon Spotlight, a show where we highlight IPFW athletics. On this week's edition of the show, we're going to continue a tradition of sorts that we've started, a review of our spring sports now that the school season, the academic and athletic seasons are over. On this week's show, we're going to take a look at my favorite sport, golf. We'll have on the head coach of IPFW Golf, Jeff Marsh, and he's bringing along his assistant, Kim Moore. Also, we're going to talk tennis with Eric Burns, the head coach for IPFW men's and women's tennis. So that's the menu this week, golf and tennis on Mastodon Spotlight, brought to you in part by Ryan Steakhouse, again located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. Stay tuned. When we return in just a moment, we'll talk golf with Jeff Marsh and Kim Moore.
That boat was all right. You know, she continues to spill product at a rate of 3 per hour. Unit cost, say 60 cents. Factor in breakage, downtime, lost sales. You're looking at $2,400 a month. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We are doing our year-end review with spring sports, and right now we're going to talk about my favorite game, the game of golf. And with us to talk about golf at IPFW is Jeff Marsh, the head coach for both men's and women's golf.
Thank you.
And alongside Jeff is Kim Moore, who is the assistant golf coach. And I'm glad you brought Kim over, Jeff. And first and foremost, Kim, let's introduce you to our viewers. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
My name's Kim Moore. I'm originally here from Fort Wayne, and I went to Bishop Dwenger High School, and I graduated from the University of Indianapolis. And I currently play on the Futures Golf Tour, and I also give lessons and things like that out here. So,
having affected my kids, I went to Concordia. I won't hold it against you going to Dwenger. What I want to do is, first of all, talk about how Kim came on board and what an asset she is to your program.
Okay. Kim's been a very big asset to me. She has been there for practices. She is helping me more and more with the recruiting aspect now, which has allowed us to expand the areas we can look at and the individuals we can look at. Kim came on board last summer. We got together and talked. And I was very impressed with her resume and her accomplishments at that point in time. And so we brought her on board, and immediately she made a very big impact. She plays a futures tour. She obviously has the ability, so she can cross over and help both teams, whether it be the men or the women, which is a big asset to me. And she's just done a wonderful job. And as time goes on, she just gets more involved every day. So
does she work more with the women than the men, or is it?
She primarily, when we travel, when the men and women are traveling at separate spots, Kim will go with the women and I'll take the men. I was fortunate enough to be able to take the women to their final tournament in the spring. Yeah, Kim will primarily work with the women's team. But when it comes to practices, if I'm not available, she'll run practice. And it doesn't matter what we're working on. Again, she can cross over and help both men or women. So.
And just for information purposes, a typical IPFW golf practice is not just teeing it up.
That's true. We do a number of drills, a number of course management scenarios. It's not just tee it up and play 9 holes or 18. We typically, again, they're qualifying. We have structured short game drills, course management drills that we put them through. So Kim's been a big asset with those.
Well, let's review the season.
Okay.
Because we're taping as school has been completed, and so let's take a look back, and we'll start with the men, and let's really go back, move the calendar back, because as with all sports in college now, it's not a seasonal sport anymore. It's literally a 12-month-a-year situation.
Definitely.
And I know you and I talked about this on a previous show, but for the men, you got started last September. When you went to Bowling Green.
Right.
And you took part in 3 fall tournaments, Bowling Green, Butler, and Eastern Kentucky. Briefly talk about that. And then you also had 2 in October, Ball State and Morehead State. So busy time in the fall.
Busy time in the fall for us. We actually start our practice actually is the second day of classes. So we officially start team practice the second day of classes and getting ready for the upcoming year, because they actually have 5 rounds of qualifying to get through before we get into any competition. And but we get into Bowling Green was our first event, and we came out of the gate and played very well. We didn't place very well, but our averages were much better than what they had been the previous year. And then we just continued on throughout the entire fall that way, playing well, played well into Ball State's tournament, our 4th one of the fall, and then also at Morehead State. And we actually ended the fall with men with an average of 306, which at that point in time was 20 shots lower than what the previous year was. So I was very pleased with their efforts.
That's not bad, 76 and a half. Then in the spring, Butler put on a tournament, which you have to go to Florida for. Forget out when Butler down in Indianapolis puts on a tournament in Florida, and then you came back a week later and played in Indianapolis at
Butler's Invitational there. So
you played twice with them, and then you played at Eastern Kentucky, at Cleveland State, and then at the Dayton Invitational. A brief talk about the men, and then we're going to switch over and talk to Kim about the women.
Okay. First 2 events were tough. We flew down to Florida and basically only had 1 day outside to prepare for that. Overall, they didn't do too bad. We saw some bright spots in their play. A couple spots that I wasn't pleased with, but overall I was pretty pleased. Came back hoping the weather would be a little bit nicer. Again, we didn't get outside whatsoever, and went down and played a practice round. And the first day wasn't too bad, had some pretty decent weather. The second day was more windy and cold. So those 2 tournaments kind of hurt us a little bit. We hadn't had time to get outside and practice. Then we finally get some weather. We get outside and we get down to Eastern Kentucky, and we played the first round very well. And then the rain started to come, and we actually got rained out halfway through the second round, and we were in 12th place and already had beaten a few good schools that we hadn't been able to beat before, and I think we were actually moving up the leaderboard halfway through the second round, and then rounds 2 and 3 actually get rained out. Then we come back and we play at Cleveland State. Weather was okay, but it was cold, so they didn't do too bad. And then we finished up at Dayton, and we never thought that April 24th our practice round would be snowed out. And so we played the first round without seeing the golf course, and they didn't do too bad. It was still cold and everything. so their average in the spring went up a little bit, and we ended up with a year average of 313, which is still 13 shots lower than the previous year. So if we can keep taking 13 away from our average, we're doing pretty good. So, but overall, I was extremely pleased with the men's efforts going into their second year. They seemed more comfortable on the golf course and playing some Division I golf. So.
And real briefly, team-wise, in Florida, 14th, at Butler, 8th, at the IU Invitational, 19th, at Loyola, 8th, and at Youngstown State, 4th.
Well, that's the women.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the women's. Well, let's go back here. 9th at Butler, 7th at Butler in
Right.
Indiana, 12th Eastern Kentucky, 4th at Cleveland State, 7th at Dayton.
Right.
So not too bad.
Not too bad.
I'm ahead of myself. Kim, let's talk about the women now.
Sure.
And we just rattled off what they did in the spring, but again, they got started in the fall. They played at Ball State, at Butler, and at Eastern Kentucky. Little bit different situation with the women and the men,
Exactly.
because you only have five women playing this year, so everybody got to play. But talk about the women's season.
Well, the women, they started off playing what we expected. Just we really didn't have a lot of expectations for the women this year, but this is the first year, and so they started off and they played with some. They got used to the Division I aspect of golf, and it was a little eye-opening for them, you know, and it was a good start to the season, and they played actually pretty well.
I mention it's different because there's no challenge rounds per se for the women, because with only 5 this year,
Right.
they all play. Knowing that they all play, what do you do to motivate them if you have to do anything? I mean, to me, just getting on the course is motivation enough. I still feel this is the greatest game in the world, and I'm selfish and biased on that. But the fact that they know they're going to play, what do you do to try to get them to take it that next step?
Well, we just tell them how good they can be, and how good they can be if they practice hard. And a lot of them want to be up to that level of Division I sports, and just by telling them those things, and they're self-motivated enough, and they can just go out and they practice hard, and they know that if they practice hard, and they know by just looking at Jeff and I that we done the same thing they did, and it just takes a lot of hard work and practice, and they're pretty good, and they're very self-disciplined, and so.
IPFW, of course, with the exception of men's volleyball, is not yet in a conference.
True.
And we'll leave it at that for now. We know that the athletic department is working hard trying to get us into a conference, and once that happens, I think things will be easier for both of you, and as well as every other coach on staff.
Right.
But because we're not in a conference, there is the Division I independent status. And 3 women were placed on the all-independent team, Vanessa Weimer, Stephanie Hops, and Nicole Geyer. And kudos to those 3.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. For never playing, you know, this is their first year that they played any college golf whatsoever, and to come out and play the way they did, was very pleased with their efforts, and justifiably they're rewarded for it. So.
And on the men's side, there were 2 golfers named all-independent, Matt Fry and Andy Campbell. And I think we've been fortunate enough to have both of them on the show before.
Yep.
Matt averaged 77.2, and Andy 77.5, so good competition between the 2.
Absolutely. So, and again, I think the first 2 tournaments, their scores were up a little bit more. But once we got outside, their scores started to come down to where they're normally playing. So, and I look for them next year to even go a little lower than what they've been doing. So,
part of the job that you 2 have, and you mentioned it, and it's probably the toughest, maybe to me it's the toughest part for all of college coaches, is recruiting. You've got to go out, you've always got to restock the board, so to speak, and you have gone out for both men and women and recruited some people. Talk about the people you've been able to sign.
On the women's side, we signed a girl by the name of Jackie Spees out of Mishawaka. She goes to Marion High School up there. Very good, accomplished player. I think she'll do well for us. Has a great attitude on the golf course and off the golf course. Allison Rathman out of Franklin Central High School in Indianapolis. Again, good attitude, good GPA. Just has kind of the overall package that we were looking for. And then here locally, lady by the name of Abby Waltke from Bishop Lures. So we're fortunate to have those three, and we believe that they'll fit in very nicely, and they'll push the current people on the team and help them.
Do all five gals return from their shifts?
Actually, we're losing one as of right now, Vanessa Weimer. She will be graduating in the fall, so she has some academic things that she needs to clean up and make sure that she's ready to graduate. So, she's making the right decision. She was 2 years away from the game, so she's been a senior, so to speak, and she's ready to take the next step and move on with the rest of her life. And we've had some good discussions about it, but I think she's making the right decision in making sure that her academics and graduation come before anything else, which is what we talk to all the players about, is that, that's why they call you a student athlete. You're a student first and an athlete second. So, but as of right now, everybody else is coming back.
And the men's side?
Men's side, we have here locally Patrick Kelly out of Blackhawk Christian, and what can I say? He's a 4.3 student on a 4.0 scale, so he's #1 in his class. So that immediately got our attention, and he can flat out play. So we're pleased to have him. Alex Corbin out of Mississinawa High School, which is the Gas City area. Same thing. He's like a 3.8, 3.9 student and can play as well. And then Jimmy Yoakum out of Mishawaka, another good student and can play as well. So we're very pleased to have all three of them.
I've got a minute and a half left. Two things I want to try to cover. Number one, Kim, you've been involved in a tournament.
Yes.
That you've, for two years in a row, I think you did good, so to speak. Briefly talk about that.
Well, the past 2 years I have played in the National Amputee Championship. I was born without a right foot, so I have a prosthetic leg on my right leg. And so I'm fortunate to play in those tournaments. And the past 2 years I have won them both. So actually I'm considered the world champion of amputee golf.
How about that?
So it's a good accomplishment, and I'm proud of it. And don't get me wrong; those people out there can play. Just because they're handicapped or they have some amputation, there's some scratch golfers out there. So it's good competition, and it's playing some really good courses. First year we played at Hazeltine National, and that's where the 2000 PGA Championship was held. And that course was probably the best course I've ever played. And then this past year we played at Boulder City, Nevada, which was in pretty much Las Vegas, and that course was a very good course. It was a little windy those both days, and so it makes good competition. And they have what's called the Robinson Cup, which I was fortunate to be on the team, the USA team, on last year's, because they take the people who won from the year before, and since my 2 years ago was my first, so I didn't get to play in that, but this past year I got to play in the Robinson Cup, which is the USA team versus the international team, and that's always a fun event as well, and that's right after the national championship. So I've been pretty fortunate to win those championships, and I also won the Canadian national as well, and so it's pretty fun.
Congratulations
I really
on
enjoy
that. Finally, I'm not able to put on any camps, but anything you want to talk about what's coming up this summer?
Yeah, on June 3rd we're hosting the Judy Marsh Memorial Classic, which is hosted by the Judy Marsh Memorial Foundation, named after my mother. And the event is held out at Deer Track on June 3rd. It's an afternoon of golf, lunch, prizes and banquet and everything. It helps to go raise money for, it's a little bit to help us with scholarship money, but at the same time they donate money to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and the American Heart Association. So it's a good event. We're flooding now with teams. I mean, we're up to over 20 teams now for it. So there's still room for some teams, but anybody wants to contact me, feel free. So.
Thank you both for coming over. Congratulations on the ever-improving golf program here at IPFW. Congratulations on your honors.
Thank you.
And continued success. Have a good summer, and we'll talk to you both in the fall.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
We've been chatting with the brain trust of the IPFW golf program, head coach Jeff Marsh and his assistant Kim Moore. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Are you in there?
what's up? The show's a 7. Whoa.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight, continuing our review of spring sports that are now completed here at IPFW. We now turn our attention away from the golf course and we move over to the tennis courts, and we're going to talk IPFW men's and women's tennis with the head coach, Eric Burns. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Tennis. First of all, it's hard to believe that this season is done with already. It seemed like all the spring sports just flew by.
Yeah, the season, really the whole year flew by. I don't know what it was, but just maybe so busy we just didn't realize it was flying by so quickly. I don't know.
Well, let's do a review, and let's start off with the men. If one looks and they see the number 8 wins and 19 losses, they would think, wait a minute, this isn't a good year. But as you and I have talked about many times, not just you and I, but a lot of the coaches on staff, numbers sometimes lie. And 8 and 19 really wasn't 8 and 19.
Well, 8 and 19 was average for our team. I think we could have done a little better. But overall, pretty good season. Started to play our best tennis toward the end, and that's what you want going into conference. To be playing your best tennis. I think it took a little longer for the guys to really come together as a team this year. Fall season definitely was not good, but I think as the season went on, we got a little bit tighter, and everyone started working together a little more, and I think by the end we were playing good tennis.
The last time we had a chance to chat, you were talking about the new indoor facility that you were going to be playing some of the home matches at this spring. Tell us about that facility again, and then if you can, talk about the major difference outside of the wind of playing indoor tennis as opposed to outdoor tennis.
Well, Pine Ridge Racket Club is our new home. It's located on Lima and Carroll Roads, brand new facility with 8 courts and viewing from above. Beautiful place, ideal place to play a college tennis match because your spectators can see everything that's going on. And just a really nice place. We're fortunate to get to play there. I've had so many compliments from other Division I coaches that have come in and just said, wow, this is a great place to play home matches. So we're just lucky to be there. As far as the difference, big difference. Indoors, you don't have the wind to deal with. It's a little faster because of that. And a lot of times the surfaces are a little bit faster as well. Pine Ridge is a little bit slow for an indoor facility just because it's new and some of the sand hasn't worn out off the surface yet, but it'll never be a really quick surface. And then outdoors, you've got the wind, the elements you're always dealing with, and I mean it's pretty fast in the summer, but when you're playing in the spring, it's a little colder conditions, so the ball's a little heavier and just totally different from being indoors.
How much does the weather or the conditions influence, and I'm thinking more of doubles play now, who you would pair up for the doubles?
It doesn't necessarily influence it. I think it influences a little more what we do with our singles because the differences are exploited a little more. A serving volleyer that likes to rush the net has more of an advantage on a faster court. So maybe you'd play that player a little higher in the lineup versus when you get outdoors, the conditions are slower, maybe you drop them. That is if the players are of equal ability. So, I mean, I think that's about the only time. I mean, doubles, everyone's being aggressive, everyone's rushing, so it's the same for both teams. You're not going to see too many baseline doubles teams, but you know, when you play singles, you're going to have some players that like to stay back there and battle from the baseline. That's definitely to their advantage, the slower conditions.
Let's talk about the women now for a moment. They had a few more matches than the men. They won 11 and lost 22, and they got a taste of tournament play, so to speak. The men, an associate member of the Mid-American Conference. The women had a chance to participate in the National Independent Tournament. But talk about their season.
I think they had a good season. I think they feel like they could have won a few more matches. I feel like we could have won a few more matches. We had a lot of 4-3, 5-2 losses that were were extremely close, that you would never know how close they are unless you were there, but easily could have been a 500 team. And so I think we just have to take that and go into next season. But I think they were pretty happy with the year. I mean, we improved our win total from last year, and we beat some teams we had never beaten before, so I think that was a positive.
Yeah, I'm looking here. 7 of your matches went 4-3. And
I think we maybe only won
you
a couple of
You
those.
won 2 out of the 7, so
Yeah.
2 and 5. 5 of them could have swung the other way
Right.
and made it a better record.
Yeah.
But 11 up, 22 down. Who impressed you on each team? Who do you think made the biggest improvements this year?
Well, I think on the men's team, if you look at fall to spring, Nabil Murad Filho made the biggest improvement. He went from playing 4 singles and then all the way up to 2, and really played good enough tennis to be playing 1. Had some big wins in the spring versus the fall season, not so good. So I think he made some big improvements. Carlos Gonzalez made good strides throughout the year, played injured the whole year pretty much, and had a better season than he did as a freshman. So, I mean, I think that's good too. I think everyone improved on the men's team, and I would say the same on the women's side. Our teams improve every year, and it's just a matter of we just got to keep improving and get to where we want to be. But we got a good bunch of kids.
A plus, I think, for both teams is the fact that the nucleus is going to return for next year. And correct me if I'm wrong, you lose 1 player at this point from the men's team, 2 from the women's. Talk about the recruiting trails and what you've done to restock the shelf.
Well, on the men's side, we went out and signed a guy named David Lionel from London, Ontario. He's 15th in Ontario Tennis Association up there. So that's a pretty strong player, so that he should be able to come in, maybe play top 4. And then still working on a couple other kids on that side. On the women's side, we signed Sashi Janik, plays here at Northrop. I believe she's undefeated in high school this year. She's been second team All-State, an honorable mention All-State a couple other times. So she's a really solid player. I think she can come in and play toward the top of the lineup. So it's good to have her. And then we've got some girls that are coming in to walk on as well, about 3 or 4 other girls. So our roster will get a little bit bigger, and hopefully we'll create a little more depth.
Also, briefly want to talk about, you had a new assistant coach this year. Talk about her helping you out.
Well, Janelle came on, Janelle Bartleheim, actually an older sister of Lisa Bartleheim, who's on the team. Came in, really did a good job this year, helped with some fundraising. Didn't really play tennis in high school, but went to IU, was big into business down there, went to graduate from Kelly School of Business, and has a lot of experience in the business side of things. So really she helped organize me a little bit, and like I said, did a lot with the fundraising and just keeping me in line.
What will take place between now and August when the teams reconvene for the fall season? Will there be any tournaments, any clinics, any camps or anything going on?
For me or for the?
Both.
For me, I'll be finishing up the schedules and the recruiting. We're close to having the schedule finished, but got a couple more dates to shore up, and then just be finishing up the recruiting, and then we're going to be kicking around some ideas on what we want to do as far as fundraising for next year. We've got a USTA tournament we hold every year as a fundraiser in July, Three Rivers Festival. I think it's July 9th through the 11th or somewhere around that date. And I might get out on the golf course a little bit, so get a little golf in. And probably play some tournaments.
I appreciate you coming over. Sometimes maybe we don't visit enough, but it's the nature of the business with all these sports here at IPFW. But continued success establishing this program, and have a good summer, and we'll talk to you in the fall.
Yeah, you have a good summer too. Thanks.
We've been chatting with Eric Burns, the head tennis coach for both men's and women's tennis here at IPFW. We want to thank Eric. We want to thank Jeff Marsh, the head coach for men's and women's golf, and also want to thank and congratulate Kim Moore, the assistant head coach, as well on her accomplishments, both coaching and on the playing front. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. In the coming weeks, we hope to talk with Kelly Hartley-Hutton, talking about women's volleyball. We hope to talk with Keith Fisher about women's softball. Later on in June, we're going to have both Dane Fife, the new head men's basketball coach, and Bruce Patterson, the head women's basketball coach, on. We'll talk about what's going to be happening with the round ballers. And before this season is over, we're also going to sit down and chat with Athletic Director Mark Pope. So that and maybe a few more surprises between now and the end of June, but that's ahead here on Mastodon Spotlight. For our sponsor, Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods, this is Mike Maz. Thanks for tuning in. We wish you a pleasant good day or good night, whatever time you're watching this program, and we'll see you again next week for another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maz. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight, where we highlight IPFW athletics. Our program is brought to you by our good friends over at Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. School is out and has been out now for a while, but what we are trying to do is recap some of the seasons that were completed on the athletic front here at IPFW. And this week, we are stressing women's athletics. We're going to talk with both Keith Fisher and Dennis Smith from the women's softball team, and we'll visit with Kelly Hartley-Hutton, head coach of IPFW women's volleyball. Stay tuned, we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk IPFW women's softball. That's right here on Mastodon Spotlight on College 56 Sports.
Mom, Dad, you know we love kids, and I've made a decision that will totally change my life. Cameron's too. It's a huge responsibility, leading someone into, who knows, communication or science or math. That's what life's all about, right? Learning so you can pass on knowledge to younger minds. Dad, Mom, I want to be a teacher.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We continue our review of the athletic progress of our teams here at IPFW. And on deck right now, women's softball. And with us to talk women's softball here at IPFW is the head coach, Keith Fisher, and Keith's right, Tonto, otherwise known as pitching coach Dennis Smith. Welcome back, gentlemen. It's been a while. Softball.
Thanks, Mike.
We've talked many times over the past, and how sometimes numbers lie, sometimes numbers don't lie. 14 up, 35 down doesn't sound good, but there were some good times as well as some not so good times to share with the softball team.
Yeah, we had some wins that I'm actually going to let Coach Smith tell you about our statistics, and he's got probably an eye view on them, maybe better than I do.
Okay, Denny, you're up.
All right, well, 14 wins and 35 losses may not sound all that well, but you go, last year we had 7 Division I wins. This year we had 12 actually. 2 of those were NIA, but we almost doubled the wins. So you go from one season to the next, and look at that aspect. Why 5 more? That's really good. We do commit too many errors yet. That got a lot better the second half of the season. We compete real well in this area with Ball State, Butler. We split with them. We try to get Indiana State on. They don't want to play us, being we split with them. So in this area, we do very well against the programs. But you get out on the surface we went to Hawaii.
I want to talk about that because let's get the smiles going today on this. I know it's not easy to have to field questions about how come you only won 14 games, but you're right. Yeah. A 5-game improvement in D1 situation over last year. And you got to go to Hawaii in February when we had snow back here in Fort Wayne. And I wanted to try to get into one of the suitcases, but you wouldn't let me.
Well, I didn't have one. I was going to squeeze you in, Mike. I'm going to squeeze you in. I won't go to that point. But maybe I cut down the hot dogs at the concession stand. It was a great trip. Great trip for the young ladies and for the parents and people that went along. We had 69 followers to go with us to Hawaii. And, you know, the kids got to see some things that maybe they'll never see again. Went as a group to Pearl Harbor, and, you know, that's a historical thing for the kids to see and go through. But yeah, we played some tough teams. Played Washington and Oregon and Hawaii, and, you know, they're ranked. I know Coach Smith knows their rankings. And played Jacksonville, and, you know, we did well against Jacksonville. But great experience for the kids. Great experience.
You had a mixture. You had some returning people, and you also had to bring in some freshmen to play. It's never been easy, and you and I have talked about this in the past. It's never been easy having to play freshmen, especially at the Division I level. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, we probably played 5 or 6 freshmen. You know, they were in the starting lineup, and, you know, the reason that they were the kids that needed to be there. They've learned that you know, it's a lot different in high school. It's a Division I, and especially Division I program. And we made too many errors. We made some errors that we shouldn't have made. And as Coach Smith pointed out before, you know, we cut it down the second half. But those things will just grab you and bite you. And, you know, we're ahead one game down in Florida 7-0, and then we make one error, and one error goes to 2, and we wind up losing the ball game. And we would have never dreamt of that, but those things happen.
Let's talk briefly about 2 of your pitchers. Beth Harmon came back, a veteran, and she went 8-11. And you had to bring in one of the freshmen. We're talking about Jenna Connolly. And she learned what NCAA Division I softball was all about. But talk about those 2, because they were the workhorses for your pitching staff.
Well, exactly, and I'll let Coach Smith say a few things about both those pitchers, but yeah, I'll say Jenna Connolly learned what Division I softball was about, and she's going to get better. That's my view of her, and I'll let Coach Smith say a few things about his pitching staff.
Beth Harmon did very well this year. She did end up with more wins than she did last year. Her ERA was actually a little higher. But I think where she excelled at, she was much, much more composed on the mound this year, more focused, didn't get rattled, and that comes with going from a freshman to a junior. Jenna, she definitely found out what Division I is. She will get better. She's going home this summer. She's going to work on a drop ball, and I have all the faith that she will come back with a drop ball. She's a very excellent worker, very hard worker, and determined to be good. So there's nothing but bright spots there. We do have another. She'll be a freshman next year also. She was redshirted this year, but she'll be in that rotation next year.
Talk about the morale of the team during the course of the season, if you can.
Morale, at one point, it goes high, and then it goes low, and then it goes high. And I'm not saying that that's just a woman thing, but
glad you said it, not me.
But, you know, I think that, you know, we wound up actually with just 2 seniors. Angela Downauer had an ACL problem, and she wasn't really with us that much. So we had 2 seniors. They did show some leadership, but, you know, I think that, and Coach Smith and I have sat and talked about this, we had a lot of I syndromes on this team. Like, you know, I'm doing it for myself, and we were going to work very, very hard to make this a team concept where, you know, we're there, they're there, you know, to play the hardest, but they're also there as a group team. And I think we're going to have the kids next year that's going to do this type of thing.
Can we talk about one player who led a lot of your offensive categories? And she played well last year as well, Jenna Beachy.
Jenna Beachy, she's a great young lady. She comes from my area, around in between New Haven and Woodburn, and I didn't recruit her just because I knew that. I recruited her because she was a great hitter and a good athlete, and you know, I think she'll continue, you know, to go into her senior year. She's very positive. She's a very bright young lady, and so we're looking for great things, and to couple with her some other young ladies that we're looking at it here coming into IPFW.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. Both you two have to go out and recruit, and granted you only had 2 seniors that actually played a lot, but you're always looking for talent. You always, at some point, have to restock the cupboard. What do you look for this summer? And I can't say off season because it's year round.
Right.
But what are you going to look at in the recruiting area?
Well, we have some young ladies that want to come here from other universities, and naturally we can't talk to them till they're released, which makes us feel good. And there's some talented athletes, and we're looking to fill some holes where we had a lot of errors. We had 2 young ladies, both freshmen, played shortstop. And not that maybe they won't try to compete for that area, but we see a young lady might be coming here that has great talent, great hitting, has had a year of experience of playing college Division I softball and wants to come here. We've got about 3 of those. So, you know, that makes us feel good, and we're kind of anxious. We're out looking at young ladies. We actually recruited one from up around Chesterton area, and she's a catcher, third baseman, very good hitter. So we're looking for hitters. We're looking for people that are, you know, team players, team concepts. So
it sounds like maybe the number 2 priority. Team concept, I think, probably is number 1.
Exactly.
Number 2, shoring up the defense. And how does that affect you when you're looking? Because obviously, you know, many errors, which can lead into, like you say, extended innings and so forth. So do you lean towards somebody that, you know, is more gifted with the glove, and you're not going to worry as much about the hitting? I know it's a fine line between hitting and defense, but is the defense going to be the number 2 priority?
Well,
We're looking for the complete package.
Yeah, we're looking for the. And he's right. We are.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've gone both ways. You know, well, this is a great hitter, but defense not so good, and this person's a great defensive player, but the hitting's not very good. And we're going to go for the complete package, and we're going to scout the countryside. We've got maybe a little connection in the Colorado area because the young lady that was with us this year but did not play. I think next year. Hopefully everything is right. Yeah, people are going to be surprised how great a pitcher this young lady can be.
Before we run out of time, and I know we talked about it briefly before we started airing this segment, one thing that you do take pride in is the academic side. Again, these are student athletes, and we've talked about that time and time again. You had 5 members of your squad this year make the Division I independent all-academic team, and that's got to make you feel good.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and that's the first thing. Kids have to be a great student, and we're going to make sure they're great students. And we're always priding ourselves in our GPA, and we had a little slippage this year, and some of our freshmen that did not take us serious. And you know, there was a quote in one of our papers here at school that you know, some people might not be back, and some of them, it's not their choice, it's the choice of being a good student first of all.
Keep the chin up.
Oh,
hang
always.
in there. Do you have any Billy stories you want to talk? Last shot for the summer.
Well, you know what, I'm going to think of some for next year, but you know, Billy's had a great year this year, and you know, I'm super proud of him. I hope he wins this last game that he's going to play and gets over that 500 mark. And you know, I'm proud of them.
And Billy, we're referring to as the head baseball coach, Billy Gernon. Thanks for coming over. And again, keep the chins up. Keep the hot dogs coming in the off season. Hey, I can't give them up cold turkey.
I understand.
But keep up the good work. Hit the recruiting trails, and we'll talk to you when we come back with season number 7 of Mastodon Spotlight in the fall.
Thanks, Mike.
We've been chatting with the head softball coach, Keith Fisher, and his able assistant pitching coach, Dennis Smith. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Do you have everything you need? Paper, pencils?
We only ask that you do your best.
I made you a snack.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. In keeping with our theme this week of talking about women's athletics, we have back with us the head coach for IPFW Women's Volleyball, Kelly Hartley-Hutton. Welcome back.
Thanks. It's been a while.
Been a while. Haven't done much since you went out west and won some kind of a tournament.
We haven't done much. My team hasn't done much.
I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
Without a doubt, the most successful program on campus this year was your women's volleyball team. 24-10, second national independent championship in 3 years. Just finished very, very strong. Now you've had a chance since the end of the season, and though we talked about it on Kelly's Corner, a quick thought back, because now you've had a time to really digest what took place last fall.
Well, first of all, I hope the Chancellor and my direct report, Mark Pope, are listening today, because I think it's raise time on our campus. So, you know, what happened last fall, you know, I don't think you can just look at the fall. It goes back to, you know, the great hire of Steve Florio in our program, and he brought with him then his wife, who is very overqualified for our second part-time assistant position. She spent the winter playing in Europe. So that's key, I think, for our success and the success we've had in recruiting. And, you know, recruiting is everybody's like, are you done recruiting? It just never ends. It never, ever, ever, ever ends. Steve works real hard at it, and I think that our recent success is due to bringing him on staff too. And then, you know, our kids, you know, okay, that was in the fall, but our success in the fall was also, you have to look at the preparation our student athletes did over the summer, committed to the workouts with Paul, our strength and conditioning coach, and those workouts are volunteer, so you have to have student athletes who are committed. So you just so many people, and the support that we have. Our department supports women's volleyball, and we appreciate that, and just want to make everybody proud.
If we can just get that raise for you.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
You mentioned recruiting. You have to replace 3 players from last year's team. Lindy Bankowski, Lindsey Brammer, Janelle Poward. Talk about what you've been able to do in signing new student athletes.
Well, we signed 3 in the fall, in the early signing period, and then we had several commit just after the signing period in the fall, and they already signed with us during the spring. So we have 5 incoming players total, and the 2 that signed with us recently is Christine Simon, a defensive player out of Ohio, Bowling Green, Ohio. Her sister plays at Bowling Green, and she's a defender there. We brought in Peachy Jankowski, who's going to be a sophomore. She played the libero position for us. We felt like we needed one other player in that position for some depth, and for, frankly, some competition for Peachy. And then Ellie Ann Ballman, out of Michigan. Her team went to the semifinals of Class B. She played for Coldwater, Michigan, under a very good coach. And you know, she's a great athlete. She's one of those student athletes, though, not unlike many players we've already brought in, that comes to us with a lot of athletic ability but needs to be trained, needs a lot of gym time, and will be a good player for IPFW.
The team was busy in the spring. You played 13 matches. You won 11 out of the 13. Talk about the spring schedule.
Yeah, you know, we had a great spring, and spring ball is, you know, your younger players get an opportunity to step up. You get to try some different things. You play without your senior class that just left, and you play without your incoming class, those 5 freshmen I just talked about. So everybody plays with kind of a thin squad. Erica Leitsky from Wisconsin, who's a transfer from another Division I institution, sat out in the fall and was eligible to play the spring with us in preparation for next fall, which is her final year of eligibility. You know, you talk about replacing players. You know, you can't replace, you know, people, but certainly Erica, we're in a good position because Erica is not, you know, we're not throwing her to the wolves, so to speak. You know, she has a lot of experience, and so we were able to really just keep moving forward with her type of experience and ability. I think that was key for our success in the spring, and Claire Jackson. We have young players who just get better and better. Amanda Feaster's getting better. And we always said when we recruited, particularly those two who are going to be juniors next fall, great athletes, but their best volleyball is still ahead of them going into their junior year, I feel, because they're great athletes, but didn't come to us as necessarily great volleyball players. They spend a lot of time in the gym and they've worked hard at it and are becoming that way. And it's just exciting that some of our younger players, their best volleyball is yet to come.
And in Claire's particular case, she spends a lot of time in the classroom.
Oh
too.
yeah, another 4.0.
4-point.
Another 4.0, yep.
And it's got to make you proud of the number, how your team does academically.
Yeah, of course, of course. And we talk about academics a lot, but you have to follow through with some things with our student athletes, and I think they understand that we're committed to it as a staff. But quite honestly, most of our student athletes don't require a whole lot of hand-holding. They're motivated student athletes on their own and responsible young adults. Another person I left off maybe that was different in the fall than she was this spring for us, Sonara Martins. She, at times wasn't healthy for us in the fall, wasn't 100%. And this spring she was just in better condition, and she's a great volleyball player, so feeling good doesn't hurt.
One person that's coming back for one final hurrah.
Who? I don't know who you're talking about.
The initials FS, does that ring a bell? Fabiana, what do you look for in the fall from her?
Well, it's fun already to see her, this spring with our seniors, not on the court with her, becoming, a little bit more of a leader. And it's not something that comes natural for her. We've worked together to talk about, how she can develop those leadership skills for our team and for her as a person. And she's excited about that opportunity. She's not going to be an in-your-face type of player. She's going to lead by example. She's working harder than she ever has, and is paying attention to that and setting a good example. Comes first. And then when it's time to say something, she'll speak up. But she doesn't. It's not just lip surface. It's just not talk to talk and rah rah to rah rah. It's pretty meaningful when she speaks up.
Of course, she could get at him in Portuguese too, and really confuse
her
everybody with Sonara.
Her and Sonara go at it, and we're just like, oh boy. They're talking in codes again, or they're talking behind my back, one or the other, and that's the way it goes. Nothing you can do about it. Fabi, academically, I have to say something about her. Over a 3-point again. I can't remember if it was a 3-4 or 3-2, but over a 3-point again, and graduates this summer. She'll have her bachelor's degree this summer and begin her master's work in the fall.
That's neat.
And I just can't point out enough that, again, we're talking about someone who learned English to come to IPFW, and the commitment, obviously, that took. So we're real proud of her.
That's unreal to hear that she's going to get her bachelor's degree ahead of schedule.
Right.
In these days, you're almost used to saying 5 years for 4.
Right.
And for her to get her bachelor's in this and be working on her master's when she starts what would have been her...
Right. Well, a lot of people don't know this. She was a transfer student. She spent a year at a college in Brazil, not playing volleyball at all. Just, working and making ends meet to go to school, which is very expensive there. And that's why this opportunity was so attractive to her. The thought of playing volleyball and being on scholarship and obtaining that education for free certainly, was attractive to her, and that's why she learned English so rapidly to come here. But then again, NCAA rules, because she had started English, or started at a university without taking the SAT or ACT, she was deemed a non-qualifier. And once you're a non-qualifier and you begin college, you're always a non-qualifier. So then that rule says that you need to complete your degree before what would be your 5th year of eligibility. It's very technical, I know.
It's still phenomenal, though.
It is. You're right. But she came here with some credits, I guess, is the short way to say that. It does not take away from that accomplishment, and the fact that she's getting good grades, and again in a second language. Sonara, was her 3rd semester with us, and again got over a 3-point. So very proud of her.
That really is neat. So what are they going to do over the summer now? I know you're limited in staff. What you can do. You can't have really organized practices per se, can you?
No, we can't have organized practices. I can't be in charge of workouts and tell them when they have to be there and all that. But they know that our staff is around the building, and we know who's working hard over the summer, and that's the reality of the situation. And it is important for our success come August. We rely on our upperclassmen to really, show some leadership and motivate the younger players and everybody to work out together. Doing those workouts together, you become competitive. It's more productive. And like yesterday, I talked to Paul, and I think there were like 8 or 9 student athletes there for workouts yesterday. A lot of our team is either from this area or stays over the summer to accomplish good workouts with their teammates. Also over the summer, we have 2 weeks of camp, and our student athletes
You're
work
reading our minds.
Oh. I'm on a roll today. Can you see? I'm like really. I have a list, an agenda today. I need to not just here with you, but I'm on a roll.
Camps.
Don't stop me now.
Okay. I'll shut
up. Summer camps are in July. We have 2 weeks of camp. We have 9 to noon. The week 1 is the 11th through the 14th. I hope I get these dates right. And then week 2 is the 18th through the 22nd. This is off the top of my head. I know I'm right on the first week. It's a Monday through Thursday.
June or
both
July?
Weeks. In July.
In July.
Yep. First week of camp beginning July 11th, Monday through Thursday. The following week, the same deal, Monday through Thursday. 9 to noon. 5th to 8th graders are in our gym. We have 5 courts. We separate them by age and ability. Our team, coaches in our community, myself and Steve work this camp, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun age group. And then from 6 to 9 p.m. we have high school students in the gym, and we do both team camps and individual camps.
Final thought, can you talk about any part of the schedule for next fall, who some of your opponents may be?
We open up with DePaul at home, August 27th or 28th. I didn't mean to bring that tentative schedule. I'm trying not to get it out there a lot because I hate to have any confusion or mistakes later. We have Ball State coming here during the week this year in September. It's on Tuesday. Our home tournament is coming together nicely. We have a tentative commitment from one team, and 2 are solid. Cornell is coming, and then Belmont out of Tennessee. So we're very excited about that. We have some traveling to do too. We're going to New York and going to Hofstra to play Steve and Julie's old employer, their old team. That's where they came from. And then we're going to Florida as well to play at Florida. And we'll play Florida the Friday night match, the featured match on Friday. So that's pretty exciting.
Thanks for coming over in this yucky weather that we've got as we're taping
Yeah,
this.
I'm sitting here drying off.
Enjoy the summer, continued success, and knock on wood, hopefully we'll have year number 2 of Kelly's Corner as well come back in late August.
Thank you very much. And hey, congratulations, a little shout out here to Billy Gurdon and the baseball team, a phenomenal season. I'm not sure what their record is, but just really impressive, some of the things they've been able to accomplish, and some records. And you look in the national rankings where I just think it's very, very impressive. They do a great job and put a great product on the field for us, on a great field that they work so hard on, And then men's volleyball made it to the finals of the MIVAs. And I sit next to Coach Ball, and his office is right next door to ours, and so we get to hear each other complain a lot, and woe is me, but he makes it to the to the finals of the conference tournament. So great accomplishment for that team too.
Yeah. Enjoy the summer.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with Kelly Hartley-Hutton, the head coach for women's volleyball here at IPFW. We thank Kelly. We thank Keith Fisher and Dennis Smith from the women's softball program. We thank our sponsor, Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. We thank you for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW Athletics. We invite you to come back for another edition of Mastodon Spotlight next week. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying have a great week and continue to go Dons. This week on Mastodon Spotlight, we're going to talk women's basketball and women's track and field. Our special guest will be Bruce Patterson, the head coach for IPFW women's basketball, and Mike Frucci, who coaches women's track and field. I'm Mike Maas. Please stay tuned. Mastodon Spotlight, brought to you in part by Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods, comes your way next, right here on College 56 Sports.
Do you have everything you need? Paper, pencils?
We only ask that you do your best.
And make you a snack.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We're going to talk now a little bit of IPFW women's basketball, and with us is the head coach of the women's basketball team, Bruce Patterson. Welcome back to the show. How have things been since the 1st of March?
Hectic, probably the easiest word to mention. I mean, everybody thinks that the season's over, you can sit back and relax, but this is the time that you really have to put your head down and get some things accomplished if you want to be better next year. And we've been trying to do that.
Quick passing thought on the season past. Had some good times and some not so good times.
Oh, Mike, I'd be less than honest if I didn't tell you it wasn't a disappointment. We started off the season trying to run the Grinnell system. We thought it was the opportunity that we had to even things out, and probably the biggest mistake we made was going to the Grinnell system. The second biggest was when we decided to depart it after 5 games because we couldn't stand the beatings we were catching because of it. Because I honestly believe in the long term, had we been able to stay with it, the kids would have been comfortable, and it would have been very difficult for the what I call more equal competition of the second half. It'd been very difficult for them to deal with it. But that's history. We tried something. We rolled the dice. It didn't work, and then we had a terrible time trying to readjust. And by the end of the year, I thought we started to play pretty well, as was evident by the victory over Corpus Christi, a team that made the NIT, and a couple other nice wins along the way. Wisconsin-Milwaukee, which is a team that was second in the horizon. So we felt like we were gaining some ground, but it was just it was a rough season. Next year, we hope to be a lot smoother.
You lose 2 players to graduation, Courtney Nicely and Faria Bibbs, and obviously part of the challenge of establishing the program is you always have to replace and refill the cupboards, and obviously that means recruiting. Talk briefly about what you and the staff are doing to try to get the replacements, so to speak, in here.
Well, in the fall, we signed 2 really nice players out of Michigan. One a point guard who's got great quickness. As a matter of fact, I talked to her the other day, and I think she's in the finals for the 200-meter dash in the state of Michigan. So the kid has obviously got some legitimate speed, and we signed a 6-foot player that can play a 4 spot out of Lansing, who we expect to come in here and compete right away. And then we had a kid on campus who was signed the year prior, but was a Prop 48 kid that wasn't able to play, and she's not going to be available, and she's about 6 foot 6'1", so we will become bigger instantly. And we're very close to getting another kid, a foreign kid that's going to be coming in here, who's another kid who's 6 foot or better and can run and jump. And so we know our size will get better instantly. Obviously we'll miss Courtney and we'll miss V. Somebody that's on campus is going to have to step up and play the 5 and take over V's responsibility. Not demeaning Courtney at all, because she was a great player for us for 4 years. But we feel like we have a stable of kids that can handle the duties and the time that she gave us, and be able to replace that, again, not because of her, but because of the position. V's going to be tougher to replace. Somebody's going to have to step up. If we step up at the 5 spot with the additional size we got coming in at the 4 and the 3 spots, we feel like we're going to be a lot better basketball team. 2 players that gave fans here a lot of excitement. Also gave you a few more gray hairs. Can't get any more, Mike. They're all that way now. Jenna Lewis Carlisle, the freshman out of Kentucky. I think it's Henry Clay High School, if I remember right. And Ashley Johnson, the sophomore from Kokomo.
you finally paired them together as the season progressed, and they're the two quickest players on the team. Talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from those two, because they did give the fans a lot of excitement and also maybe gave you an ulcer or two along the way.
Well, they're two completely different stories. AJ, Ashley Johnson, the sophomore, we couldn't ask more out of AJ. AJ was our most consistent player, game in and game out. She played hard, she played well, she had very few down games where she didn't show up. And when you have a 28-game schedule, and you can say that about a kid, I think you've said a lot. That's why she was the team's MVP this year, because of her consistency of quality of play. The number of turnovers she had was very small. Her turnover to assist ratio was excellent. She did all the things right. She's not quite as quick as Jana is, nor does she have the shooting skill that Jana does, but she has a lot of skill that she brings to the table and some good leadership. Jana's, in her freshman year, was, she was an ulcer in waiting. I know there's nothing that you can say about it. I mean, Jana is maybe one of the most talented basketball players, guards that I've ever been around. The kid can score on anybody. She can, it doesn't matter whether it's from outside or inside, she can do whatever she wants to do. She has a great sense for the game. And yet she's like 99.9% of the freshmen that walk in here. They have no clue on how hard you want them to work, no clue how hard they have to work every day on the ball court, because the other opponents you're playing against is just as good. And so early in the season, Jana just did not demonstrate the work ethic that we thought was necessary, and that's why you didn't see her very much. And then as we finally started to turn the corner and she started to work a little harder and try a little harder, not only on the games but at practice, she started getting a little bit more playing time. And I think she had 5 games that were 25 points and above. She was independent newcomer of the year. Everybody that saw her recognized instantly that we've got a gold mine sitting there, and Jana Carlisle, she can do whatever she wants. And like all freshmen, the best thing about them is sooner or later they become sophomores, and hopefully when they're sophomores, they come in with a different attitude. And I will tell you that Jana has demonstrated that all through the off season. She's really done a good job of getting her head screwed on right and understanding what she has to do and how important she is to us.
Besides replacing players due to graduation or otherwise, you've also had a couple of changes in your staff.
Yeah, that was that's the good and the bad. We made a year ago what I consider to be one of the great hires for somebody of our level, if you will, new D1. When we hired Niecy Nelson in here, Niecy was dynamite. She had great personality. She had Division I experience with Wyoming. She was a fit. To this day, I love her to pieces, and she will rave about her experience and her stay at IPFW. But anytime you make a great hire, you got to understand that other people are out to get her. And it was shortly after the Final Four, shortly after she had just gone to Brazil on a recruiting trip. She came back and she called me in tears, and you don't see Niecy cry very often. In tears, saying, Coach, I've got an offer from to go back to San Diego, which is 100 miles from my home, where she calls home, southern LA. And she said, I just don't think I can turn it down. And we talked about it for a while, and as much as I love Niecy, we made a decision, she made a decision, and I supported that she needed to go back and do what's best for Niecy Nelson. Anytime, I've always believed that about employees, the second you start wrapping your arms around them and trying to stop them from going what's doing best for them, all you're doing is chasing them away, because you can't build fences high enough. In her place, we brought in the person that was that lost out to Niecy in the Final Two a year ago for that same position, a young lady by the name of Charity Richardson. Charity is much more a homebody. She's from here, played for us at the University of St. Francis, has been very close to us and very close to the program, and Charity will do a great job. She's already started to wrap her arms around the job and get involved, and we look for great things out of her, and for her to get acclimated to the job very quickly. She'll have to. July's almost on us, and you know what July is. That's a month where you spend the whole time sitting in in the stands watching players play. So we expect great things from her.
Speaking of watching players play and working with kids, you're also going to have a camp.
Yeah, I'm terrible with dates, Mike. You may have to help me. It starts on Monday around the 21st, and it goes from Monday through Thursday, and we're having younger kids in the morning and high school kids in the afternoon. We in the past have been able to do it by going out and getting a lot of corporate donations and doing it as a free camp for a thing. We've kind of abandoned that simply because it's so hard to get those dollars in, which really makes you appreciate the people that did it in the past, by the way, but it's hard to get the dollars in, but we're still holding the cost down to a minimum. I think it's $50 for the camp, and as camps go, that's pretty pretty cheap stuff. So, but directed primarily by Coach Paul, and you know, he does a great job with these young kids. That's I think last year we had 100 kids, and my guess is this year we'll press between 50, 75 to 100 kids again. The registrations always come in a little late. It's an exciting time, a fun time, but I'm going to tell you what, it's a busy time too.
It's June 20th to the 23rd, and I believe the phone number that people can call to get more information is 481-6957.
That will do it.
So, besides that, anything new on the agenda for the summer?
Well, we're just excited about where the program's going. We're excited about the things that have happened with the European trip that I took. I spent a week in Germany trying to watch players, and frankly, we didn't walk out of there with any players that were at the camp. There was one I'd have killed to have, but there was actually about 3 of them I'd kill to have, but we didn't get them. You know, and that, you know, that's understandable. There were people there, but. What did come out of it is I built some great relationships as late as this morning. I got an email from a young player out of the Netherlands that said that one of the coaches that was there that I had a chance to sit down and chat with and build a relationship, who coaches the Netherlands national team, used to coach in the U.S. He suggested she get a hold of us, and so we've already got one kid that and I'm not going to go into names or anything because I don't think I'm legal yet. But one kid who is going to has committed to us and is going to be here in the fall, and we will be excited to see this kid play. And so we're making a lot of progress in the European part, and I think that's a place where we can go and maybe get the tables equal talent-wise.
I appreciate you giving us a little bit of time. Thank you for stopping by and updating our viewers as to what's happening with the women's basketball team. And enjoy the rest of your summer, and we look forward to an exciting season coming ahead, and also season number 2 of the Bruce Patterson Show.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Thank you, and I'm not sure enjoy the summer season is the right word. It's work your way through the summer season.
Thank you again. We've been chatting with Bruce Patterson, the head coach for IPFW women's basketball. We'll take a break and then come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Pizza! I must eat. Wait, what is this? Capsicum annum? Agaricus bisporus? Allium cepa?
Can we eat this?
Peppers, mushrooms, and onions. Eat your pizza, man. Honey.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our next guest is someone that we try to get, but it's just hard to get for any number of reasons, but we are happy to have with us the head coach for both women's track and field and men's and women's cross country, Mike Frucci. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Mike. It's a busy schedule, so it's hard to get in here, but
well, I'm glad you could find some time to get in here.
Mm-hmm.
Women's track and field is over, as all sports are now for the 2004-2005 school year, but a pretty good season for women's track and field.
Yeah, we broke a lot of our school records, and that's always our goal. Set the bar pretty high in that area, and for indoor we broke about maybe half the records, and then in outdoor we probably broke about 2/3 of the records, and every record from the mile up to the 10,000 meters. So that's my direct coaching specialty, the distance group. It's one of my personal goals. So.
Well, let's talk about, maybe I shouldn't phrase it this way, but she's the star of this team. And that's sophomore Ashley Ritchie from Leo High School. She continues to amaze. And talk about her tremendous season.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Like every time I think it's got to end sometime. She can't run great forever. She continues to run fantastic, and she crushed her records from last year, both in cross country in the fall and then in the spring for track. Took about a minute 40 off her 10K time in the outdoor track, and so it's fantastic. I mean, she's one of those kids that was lightly recruited, hardly recruited at all out of Leo High School, and has turned out to be a fantastic Division I runner. And a kid like that, you might only get a couple times in your coaching career to have that kind of thing happen. And so she's been great.
What makes her so special?
I just think that she has a natural running gait, a natural form that is a gift. It's nothing that you can teach. She has a wonderful form, and as we increase her training load, that running gait that is natural just becomes more and more effective for her. And so now we're continuing to build her up and to stack on more and more training as she adapts. And the sky's the limit. I mean, she's just got a great running rhythm and smoothness that you just don't is rare. So
I have to ask, and I apologize because I wasn't able to get out to any of your meets, because all your meets are on the road anyway, because we don't have the home track as of yet. But hint, hint, down the road,
Thanks for
get myself in trouble. What do you think is her favorite race of the bunch? Is it the 10K, the 5K? Is it?
It's the longer stuff. Now, she's made great strides in everything from the 3K up to the 10, but her favorite is the 10, and that's what she's most competitive in. And she loves cross country. I mean, that's her passion in cross in the fall. So.
Well, one person does not make a team, and you had several other student athletes that performed very well. And why don't you talk about some of them?
We of course have our twins who were juniors this year, and so I'm not looking forward to only having 1 year left with them. But they've done fantastic, have improved every season, as is our goal, by a good percentage. For running. If you do your training right and you don't get injured, you should get about 2% improvement a year. These kids are averaging 3 or 4 or 5% improvement each year, which is great. And just everything is rolling along pretty good. And
the twins are Kristen and Lauren Simpson
Kristen
from
and Lauren
Northrop.
Simpson. We also had a very good year from our freshman, Valerie Hardesty from DeKalb High School. She ended up running 4:46 for the 1500, which is about a 5:06 conversion mile. And Valerie had ran maybe 5:22 as a high school senior. So, we've improved her quite a bit through the college training this first year, and expect that, she'll be improving every year as well. So.
Also had some gals in the field events that did quite well.
We reset almost every field event record. Babette Kimes broke our javelin record through, I think, 112 feet in the javelin. Nicole Crone got our shot put record, and then Lori Grimm broke that. We ended up this year improving the shot record by about a meter, which is good. So all in all, I mean, we got a discus record from our freshman Haley Bowling. It was good. Field events did a good job this year.
I mentioned at the beginning, not only you're the head coach for women's track and field, but you have men's cross and country. And since we're at the end of the school year, a brief thought on cross country, which runs when the school year starts in August.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The guys are real committed on the men's side. They're already starting to put in their summer foundation work, and I've seen them running a lot in the last month. So I know they're hard at it. And that foundation work in the summer is crucial for their full year development. So they've really, as a group, committed to doing what I've asked of them, and I think we'll see good results in the fall. The girls' side, we come back with our top 5. from last year's regional meet, where we were an all-time high 20th out of 31 teams in the NCAA regional. And we're adding a set of twins from Valparaiso High School, the Martinez twins. We're highly sought after. One has been all-state in cross-country the last 2 years in Indiana, and Indiana's a very good high school cross-country state. And so, we're looking forward to great things in the fall. And girls are really pumped. They're out running a ton as well. So,
think you'd be ready to handle 2 sets of twins?
Yeah, well, I can't tell them apart yet. So it's gonna take me a while to tell them apart. But I've seemed to be effective with the current set of twins in getting them to run great performances, but not too different from each other. And being, genetically basically the same, being identical twins, they should be able to perform at a similar level. And so sometimes it's just a confidence thing, and you've got to just build their confidence and strength up, and then you've got 2 great runners. And so it's worked out so far, and I anticipate it'll work well with these new twins coming in.
Sounds like things are definitely on the rise for both cross country and track. Again, thanks for giving us a little bit of time. I know it's always been difficult with the schedules to get us together, but I appreciate the chances you do get to come in here, and continued success with both the cross country and track programs.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mike. Thanks.
We've been chatting with Mike Frucci, the head coach for both women's track and field and men's and women's cross country. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Mom, Dad, you know we love kids, and I've made a decision that will totally change my life. Cameron's too. It's a huge responsibility, leading someone into, who knows, communication or science or math. That's what life's all about, right? Learning so you can pass on knowledge to younger minds. Dad, Mom, I want to be a teacher.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed our conversations with both Bruce Patterson and with Mike Frucci. We appreciate them giving us a little bit of their time, as I know summertime is here and they want to get on with some things, a little personal side as well as working here at the university. Well, that's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. We appreciate you tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. We invite you to come back again next week for another edition of the program, but until then, for our sponsor, again, Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods, this is Mike Maas saying thanks for tuning in to IPFW's Mastodon Spotlight. Have a great week and continue to go Dons. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we will highlight the sports of soccer and track and cross country. Our special guests are Terry Stefankowitz, the head coach here at IPFW for both men's and women's soccer, and Mike Frucci, the head coach for cross country and women's track and field. Our program, again, is called Mastodon Spotlight. We are brought to you in part by our good friends over at Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. We invite you to stay tuned. We'll talk first with Terry Stefankowitz right here on College 56 Sports.
That vote was all right. If she continues to spill product at a rate of 3 per hour, unit cost, say 60 cents. Factor in breakage, downtime, lost sales, you're looking at $2,400 a month. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. The calendar says we're in the month of June, but what we're going to talk about this week is things that took place last fall, things that are going to take place this coming August. As we continue our review of athletics here at IPFW, we're talking today with the head soccer coach at IPFW for both men and women. We welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight once again, Terry Stefanko. It's been a little while, but how are things going?
You know, school's out, and Mike and I are busier than ever. We're just nonstop. But we have some good news today, and we're excited to tell you about it.
Well, when we think of August, I think of three things. Number one, knock on wood, Lord willing, it'll be the 7th year of Mastodon Spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And the first item that we're going to talk about today, year number 6 for Soccer Showcase for the men, year number 5 for the Soccer Showcase for the women. And like you said, you've got some big news to talk about.
Yeah, really big news. But there's a fourth thing.
Okay.
Mike and I think of 4-day practices in the hot August sun. And as old as I'm getting, it makes it tougher every year. No, we're really, really excited about the Soccer Showcase this year. A little bit different format than in the past. We're going Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's August 18th, 19th, and 20th. And we have 17 universities coming to town, including IPFW's men's and women's team, but 17 different universities. It's the largest field that we've ever had. We've got both national champions, the men's national champs, Indiana University, and the women's national champs, Notre Dame. And we've never had both at the same time, so that's all new. If you don't mind, I'll just tell you,
Be my guest.
I'll give you the schedule. Thursday night, of the 17, we have 8 new teams that have never been to the showcase, and I think that's exciting. It'll be refreshing from all parts of the country, from coast to coast. That's a little tip for the future here. Thursday the 18th, and I'm looking at my cheat sheet here because I don't have it memorized yet. At 6 p.m., Purdue University women play Wisconsin-Milwaukee, followed by number 1 nationally ranked national champion Notre Dame versus number 5 Virginia women. So that's a big, big start to the showcase, and that's Thursday night. Friday night, August 19th, and this may change. We may flip-flop Friday and Saturday. So these aren't set in stone, but these schools are coming. IPFW women will play Xavier, and Xavier has never been here before. And IPFW men will play Northwestern on the featured game at 8 o'clock. We've played Northwestern during the season, but never in the showcase. And then on the other field at 6 o'clock, Toledo women will play DePaul women, and DePaul had a big draw last year with Lindsay Deason, and she's coming to help the team. She's graduated now, but she's going to be part of the team. And then at 8 o'clock, the old standbys, Michigan State play Kentucky, and you know they always bring the same group, and they're very entertaining and very, very good this year. And then Saturday, August 20th, University of Illinois Chicago, for the first time, is coming to play IUPUI. Now, IUPUI is a rival of ours, and Stevie Franklin somehow has worked his way in here. We recruit against him all the time, so we are allowing him to come back. But the big news is Indiana national champion will play UCLA. And we're really excited. Talk about coast to coast. You got Virginia from the East Coast, UCLA on the West Coast, and in between, a team that has never been here before, Purdue will play the University of Oklahoma at 8 o'clock Saturday night.
Wow.
Huge, huge.
That's covering the gamut. Like you say, east to west and Midwest and
that's right.
The whole 9 yards. Again, it'll take place at the Hefner Fields complex. Any other special events at this point that you know of?
Well, Citadel Soccer's hosting a tournament, youth soccer tournament, and because of the quality of teams that are coming in, I think that they're having a really banner year, getting teams from all over. And then we have our usual high school tournament, Snyder sponsoring a tournament, and then we have the old Canterbury Homestead, that war, and Northrop is sponsoring a men's tournament as well. So it's a huge weekend, and every year I say it gets bigger and better. I don't think it could get better than both national champions.
And again, a different set of dates: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, August 18th, 19th, and 20th. Unlike past years when it's been on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And if I can say this to the people of Fort Wayne, they always come out and support, but with this group of universities, we're needing some more sponsorship. We have to give these schools a guarantee, so if anybody would like to help bring in a Notre Dame, an Oklahoma, a UCLA, or a Virginia, we certainly would appreciate that.
How can they
help.
get in touch with you?
My number is at IPFW is 260-481-6594. Terry, the soccer coach.
Wow, that's going to be a great way to start the 2005 season. Let's shift gears now briefly. Let's go back a little bit, and let's talk briefly about the recent, well, they were completed in the fall, but the season's past 2004. And let's be kind to the women. Let's start with the women's team first, because they were ravaged by injuries. And again, using my cheat sheets, 6-13 in 2004. But there were seven of those games that were one-goal games. There were 3 double overtime games that the women played in last year. And when you're playing shorthanded, to lose the bulk of your games really by 1 goal. Now, 1 goal in soccer sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad, but to be competitive when you're shorthanded, testament to you and Mike and Ian.
Now, basically, it's a testament to the girls. We really struggled when we lost our captains and so many starters. Basically, at the start of the season, 6 of those girls that started in the showcase, within 2 weeks of the season, they were all gone for the year. It made it tough, but it also opened the door for some kids that weren't playing to come in and play, and they struggled in the beginning. And that last game of the season, to have a one-goal victory to end the season, was a testament to them. And the game prior to that, up at Loyola, the score was not an indicator of the game. We dominated play. They got 3 corner kicks and scored on all 3 because they had this tall girl. She headed in all 3 balls. But we dominated, and they started believing themselves. And we had a good spring season, and those young girls are now going to battle those girls that used to be starters. I mean, those starters have to re-earn their spots. And then naturally we have some recruits coming in as well. So we're really excited about the potential with the women. We've got a lot of girls that have playing time that they normally wouldn't have had, and the competition should be good come August.
I'm looking at a couple of names here, and I'm looking at one freshman, Annika Apar.
Annika is from Massachusetts. She was a 4-point student, got 16 hours of A this semester, led the team in scoring, and she had to play a lot of positions. She played in the midfield for us, she played up top. Her forte is either an outside left, because she's predominantly left-footed, or forward up top. And we're going to zero in on that this year for her.
Also in between the pipes, Tamika Bailey got to play both between the pipes and got to play on the field due to the injury situation.
As a matter of fact, Tamika has improved so much, she's going to really help us on the field this year. If she can improve her endurance, she's the fastest girl on the team, and she scored a goal in the spring season and one during the season, and she's a big help to us.
Let's shift over to the men now. 8-9-1, a very good competitive year for the men. The only bad news, well, a couple of bad things, but you lost the season finale to Northern Illinois, which kind of cost a 500 season, but 8-9-1 isn't bad.
Cost us a winning season. We were either going to have a winning season by one or a losing season by one, and we didn't show up that day.
Brief talk about the men's team.
Well, it's a senior-laden defense. Losing Peter High is tough, but we've got 2 freshmen that are really, really good, solid goalkeepers. Josh Howell All-State goalkeeper coming in from Bishop Luers, and Michael Knitter from Carroll, who was an All-American, and we redshirted him last year. Having said that, Peter proved himself. These guys have to prove themselves. But the defense should be outstanding. We have Trent Miller, Joe Schuring, and Trevor Peasley, all from the same recruiting class, all from Michigan, and probably gives us the most stable group of defenders we've ever had.
If I can go back to Peter Hi for a moment. Tremendous career, and I thought we tried to say it on this program before, and I'll say it again. He led the entire nation in saves per game last year, 7.11 saves per game, 18 games, 128 saves. He was definitely a rock for IPFW between the pipes.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but he was declared the Athlete of the Year at the university because of that. He brings a lot to the table. You know, a lot of kids show up at games and are good gamers. Peter just loves to play. Here it was his senior year, and he was at every spring practice. He didn't have to be there, and now he's got pro tryouts. So we wish him the best of luck. He'll be around next September helping the team, but unless he becomes a professional.
Tremendous accomplishments for Peter. What's the future look like? Can you say anything in terms of athletes that you have signed?
Yes, as a matter of fact, on the men's side, we have Vadim Shapiro, who is a graduate from the Soccer Academy in Florida. He's not very big, but he will be technically one of our better players, even though he's a freshman. He's like a magician with the ball, very, very, very sound. And we already mentioned Josh Howell from Bishop Luers, and we have a young man, Jaron Slofer from Carroll, who's a defensive player. He's one of these guys who is slenderly built, but he's as tough as they come. And then we just got a letter of intent back yesterday, and that's the one I was hoping we would have before the show. Zico Condor is from the island of St. Kitts. He's on the national team. He's a center midfielder, and he will be so exciting to watch. He's about 5'7", lightning fast, just exciting. He'll be all over the field, and we're very, very fortunate to get him. And there may be one more that we can't talk about that we don't have signed yet. So the outlook is very, very good for both teams.
How about the women?
The women's recruits, we have two young ladies from Michigan, Chelsea Smith, who, big, strong girl, can play on the outside. Heather Curry, center midfielder, who can distribute the ball, very cool and calm with the ball. Colleen Mee, I smile about Colleen. She's from Massachusetts. She's a hard-nosed defender. The girls that we have from Massachusetts told us to get her because she defended them in high school, and she's a toughie. And then Ashley Hersey. We've got another Hersey coming.
Any relation to Shasina?
Yeah, cousins. And she's a miniature Shasina. And then probably the most touted one is Danielle Orlandello. She was MVP of her conference in Massachusetts, both her junior and senior year. So it looks good.
The pipeline continues.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming over. Again, August 18th, 19th, and 20th, the dates of the Soccer Showcase. And, wow, if we can keep everybody healthy and we can get people to come out. One more time, the phone number for people to call about the showcase.
It's 481-6594.
Thank you much.
Okay.
We've been chatting with Terry Stefankowitz, the head coach for both men's and women's soccer here at IPFW. We'll take a break and come back with more Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Are you in there? What's up? The show's at 7. Whoa. You Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our next guest is someone that we try to get, but it's just hard to get for any number of reasons, but we are happy to have with us the head coach for both women's track and field and men's and women's cross country, Mike Frucci. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Mike. It's a busy schedule, so it's hard to get in here, but
Well, I'm glad you could find some time to get in here. Women's track and field is over, as all sports are now, for the 2004-2005 school year, but a pretty good season for women's track and field.
yeah, we broke a lot of our school records, and that's always our goal. Set the bar pretty high in that area, and for indoor we broke about maybe half the records, and then in outdoor we probably broke about 2/3 of the records, and every record from the mile up to the 10,000 meters. So since that's my direct coaching specialty, the distance group, it's one of my personal goals. So.
Well, let's talk about, maybe I shouldn't phrase it this way, but she's the star of this team, and that's sophomore Ashley Ritchie from Leo High School. She continues to amaze, and talk about her tremendous season.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Like every time I think it's got to end sometime. She can't run great forever. She continues to run fantastic, and she crushed her records from last year, both in cross country in the fall and then in the spring for track. Took about 1:40 off her 10K time in the outdoor track, and so it's fantastic. I mean, she's one of those kids that was lightly recruited, hardly recruited at all out of Leo High School, and has turned out to be a fantastic Division I runner. And a kid like that, you might only get a couple times in your coaching career to have that kind of thing happen, and so she's been great.
What makes her so special?
I just think that she has a natural running gait, a natural form that is a gift. It's nothing that you can teach. She has a wonderful form, and as we increase her training load, that running gait that is natural just becomes more and more effective for her. And so now we're continuing to build her up and to stack on more and more training as she adapts, and the sky's the limit. I mean, she's just got a great running rhythm and smoothness that you just don't is rare. So
I have to ask, and I apologize because I wasn't able to get out to any of your meets, because all your meets are on the road anyway, because we don't have the home track as of yet, but hint, hint, down the road,
Thanks for
put myself in trouble. What do you think is her favorite race of the bunch? Is it the 10K, the 5K? Is it?
It's the longer stuff. Now, she's made great strides in everything from the 3K up to the 10, but her favorite is the 10, and that's what she's most competitive in. And she loves cross country. I mean, that's her passion in cross in the fall. So.
Well, one person does not make a team, and you had several other student athletes that performed very well, and why don't you talk about some of them?
We of course have our twins who were juniors this year, and so I'm not looking forward to only having 1 year left with them, but they've done fantastic, have improved every season, as is our goal, by a good percentage. For running, if you do your training right and you don't get injured, you should get about 2% improvement a year. These kids are averaging 3 or 4 or 5% improvement each year, which is great. And just everything is rolling along pretty good. And
the twins are Kristen and Lauren Simpson
Kristen
from
and Lauren
Northrop.
Simpson. We also had a very good year from our freshman, Valerie Hardesty from DeKalb High School. She ended up running 4:46 for the 1500, which is about a 5:06 conversion mile. And Valerie had ran maybe 5:22 as a high school senior. So, we've improved her quite a bit through the college training this first year, and expect that, she'll be improving every year as well. So.
Also had some gals in the field events that did quite well.
We reset almost every field event record. Babette Kimes broke our javelin record through, I think, 112 feet in the javelin. Nicole Crum got our shot put record, and then Lori Grimm broke that. We ended up this year improving the shot record by about a meter, which is good. So all in all, I mean, we got a discus record from our freshman Haley Bowling. It was good. Field events did a good job this year.
Well, I mentioned at the beginning, not only you're the head coach for women's track and field, but you have men's cross and country. And since we're at the end of the school year, a brief thought on cross country, which runs when the school year starts in August.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The guys are real committed on the men's side. They're already starting to put in their summer foundation work, and I see them running. I've seen them running a lot in the last month, so I know they're hard at it. And it really, that foundation work in the summer is crucial for their full year development. So they've really, as a group, committed to doing what I've asked of them, and I think we'll see good results in the fall. The girls' side, we come back with our top 5 from last year's regional meet, where we were an all-time high 20th out of 31 teams in the NCAA regional. And we're adding a set of twins from Valparaiso High School, the Martinez twins. We're highly sought after. One has been All-State in cross country the last 2 years in Indiana, and Indiana's a very good high school cross country state. And so, we're looking forward to great things in the fall. And girls are really pumped. They're out running a ton as well. So,
Think you'll be ready to handle 2 sets of twins?
Yeah, well, I can't tell them apart yet. So it's gonna take me a while to tell them apart. But I've seemed to be effective with the current set of twins in getting them to run great performances, but not too different from each other. And being, genetically basically the same, being identical twins, they should be able to perform at a similar level. And so sometimes it's just a confidence thing, and you've got to just build their confidence and strength up, and then you've got 2 great runners. And so it's worked out so far, and I anticipate it'll work well with these new twins coming in.
Sounds like things are definitely on the rise for both cross country and track. Again, thanks for giving us a little bit of time. I know it's always been difficult with the schedules to get us together, but I appreciate the chances you do get to come in here, and continued success with both the cross country and track programs.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mike. Thanks.
We've been chatting with Mike Frucci, the head coach for both women's track and field and men's and women's cross country. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Mom, Dad, you know we love kids, and I've made a decision that will totally change my life. Cameron's too. It's a huge responsibility, leading someone into, who knows, communication or science or math. That's what life's all about, right? Learning so you can pass on knowledge to younger minds. Dad, Mom, I want to be a teacher.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed our conversations with both Terry Stefankowitz and Mike Frucci. They do a great job here on campus in their respective sports. Well, time's up for this week. Again, thanks to Terry, thanks to Mike, thanks to our sponsor, Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. And last but certainly not least, thanks to you for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW Athletics. We invite you to come back again next week for another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great week and continue to go Dons. Hi everybody, I'm Mike Maz. Welcome to Mastodon Spotlight, brought to you in part by Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. On this week's show, a treat for you. We have with us the head men's basketball coach here at IPFW, Dane Fife, and Dane has brought along his entire staff of 4 assistants. We'll meet each of them, find out what's going on with the IPFW men's basketball program. Again, our program is called Mastodon Spotlight. Please stay tuned. It comes your way next, right here on College 56 Sports.
That book was all right. You know, if she continues to spill product at a rate of 3 per hour, unit cost, say 60 cents. Factor in breakage, downtime, lost sales, you're looking at $2,400 a month. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. As I said earlier, our emphasis this week is on men's basketball, and we're happy to have with us the head coach of the IPFW Mastodons, Dane Fife. First and foremost, welcome to our little edifice here at Channel 56. You and I had the chance to meet the first time at the press conference that announced your arrival here in Fort Wayne. And what have things been like since you have been here on campus?
Well, Mike, they've been unbelievable. Really, I call this my honeymoon. I'm undefeated right now. So basically, it's been outstanding. We've hit the recruiting trail hard when we arrived here on campus, and we feel like we've got a pretty good squad in place for next year. Does that mean we're going to come out and win all of our games? By no means. But we feel like we've made steps in the right direction to put this program in position to really improve. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build the program. And how long that's going to take, I can't tell you. But again, we feel confident, and my staff and I, that we're moving in the right direction.
First thing you had to do once you got here, besides look for a place to live, is to assemble a staff. Now, we're going to meet with them up close and personal in the next segment, but tell us a little bit about the staff you've assembled and how it came about that you attracted each of them to come here to Fort Wayne.
Well, the first coach I'm going to talk about is Jeff Tungate. I've known Jeff for a long time, and Jeff, funny story, I was the ball boy for Jeff's team when Jeff played in high school. Jeff played for my dad. And I knew that I'd always wanted to coach with Jeff. We've got similar beliefs, very similar beliefs. Jeff came to Indiana when I was playing for Coach Knight, and would study Coach Knight, and we'd meet and talk after practice. And so Jeff was kind of an easy decision for me. It just was a matter of recruiting Jeff. And once we got him down to Fort Wayne, it was an easy sell. As you well know, this city, people just do not know until you arrive here, and they come to the understanding that it's a great city to be in, and more importantly than that, for us, it's a great sports city. And we're the only Division I school in town, so it makes it a little easier. The second person I'll talk about is Jermaine Kimbrough. Jermaine Kimbrough was brought to my attention by Donnie Marsh, who was an assistant at Indiana. And Donnie Marsh is another one of those coaches that I want to be in 10, 15, 20 years. Donnie Marsh is very well respected. The most important thing about Donnie is integrity. And along those lines, Donnie mentioned to me that Jermaine would do just an outstanding job, and we were looking for another good coach, and Donnie said Jermaine's young and is looking to really make his mark, and so far Jermaine has done that. He's come in and he's done an outstanding job for us, really. The third coach I'm going to talk about is Tony Jasic. Tony was brought to my attention by Jeff Tungate. Tony coached with Jeff down at Lincoln Memorial Division II school down in Tennessee, and Jeff is really a guy that I trust. Again, I've known him for a long time. I know his family, and basically, he told me that Tony's a great worker, and Tony's got some experiences of his own. He worked for Kermit Davis at Middle Tennessee State, who does a great job. in his own right. And so Tony was, again, just another easy hire for me. Generally in this business you have to go by word of mouth, and I had some people who were making some great recommendations. The last coach I'm going to talk about is Joel Cotton, who will be our director of basketball operations. And Joel went to school at Indiana with me, and through other people I've known about Joel for a while. And Joel is a coach that's trying to break into the business, and I think he'll do a really good job for us. Thus far, he's worked very hard. And that's something that we want to be our staple here at IPFW, is the fact that we don't just say we're going to work hard, we do work hard. And I still believe that you can't outwork people, and with guys like the four that I mentioned, there's no question that I believe we can still outwork other schools.
Well, you've assembled the staff, and one of the things that you have to do is fill the slots to have a complete roster. So you've hit the recruiting trails. What can you tell us about some of the student athletes you've been able to sign?
Well, what we tried to do is we felt we needed to at least upgrade or stock each position. And I think first and foremost we had to look at we had to assess the post player position. And with the loss of David Simon, we really needed to move forward in trying to get some height to go along with some skill. We had two young guys. Well, we have a young guy in Željko Hagaric who was played with the team last year. He's young. I think he's got a chance to be good, but he's young, and his body still needs to develop. So we had to go out on the recruiting trail. We received a commitment from Tyler Best. Tyler's from Lafayette, the Lafayette area, and I think that Tyler, he went to Charlotte and then ended up in Paris Junior College, won a national championship there. He's won state championships in high school, and I think ultimately Tyler wanted to come back home to this area. And so Tyler's a 6'8", 4'5". He's a forward or center. He really understands the game. He's 22 years old. He has 2 years left. So he's a grown man. And right along the lines of Tyler is another young man by the name of Armand Ademi, who was at Odessa College. He started off at Arkansas Little Rock and wasn't happy there. And so we were fortunate to get on Armand, who is from Kosovo. And a great kid, 6'9", 240, 3.5 student. So we were able to receive a commitment from Armand. Another player that I'll talk about is a young man by the name of Jakari Johnson. He's from Grand Rapids, and Jakari was being heavily recruited by some big-time schools, and I think that Jakari came to Fort Wayne and was very impressed. We showed him the Coliseum. He really enjoyed the campus. Jakari and his mother came here, and again, I think we were very fortunate to land him. We were able to outcompete some of the other big schools. DJ Posley is a player that was signed by the previous staff, and again, I think DJ's played on some state championship teams. He's a 6'3" guard, and I didn't mention Jakari's 6'4" guard, but DJ's another very good player that we're excited to have. Demetrius Johnson he transferred here from Kent State. He averaged 34 points in high school in a tough league in Ohio, and Demetrius is a class act, comes from a great family, and we're excited to have Demetrius as well. But we're excited about the newcomers. Kyle Savely would be another. He's a point guard. He's from Fork Union Military Academy. Also, he's an Indiana kid, but Kyle is tough as they come. And he can also put it in the hole, so we're excited to have Kyle as well.
Sounds like it's been an interesting find on the trail. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet Dane's staff up close and personal. That's when the Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Are you in there? What's up? The show's at 7. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our emphasis this week is on men's basketball here at the university, and it's always been said that a head coach is only as good as the staff he assembles. And with us now on this segment is the staff that Dane Fife has assembled to help him run the IPFW men's basketball program. To my immediate right, Jermaine Kimbrough. To Jermaine's right, Tony Jasic. To Tony's right, Jeff Tungate. And to Jeff's right, Joel Cotton, who you may remember, he's been on the staff before. He is the lone holdover. Gentlemen, thank you all for coming in. Jermaine, we'll start with you. You come to IPFW via the Atlantic 10 Conference, UMass with Steve Lapis. Tell us briefly a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Fort Wayne.
Well, first of all, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Played collegiate basketball at Virginia Tech. One of the assistant coaches there named was Donnie Marsh, who works now for Mike Davis at Indiana, who knows Dane Fife, and that's how I ended up here in Fort Wayne. Excited about being here. The opportunity to work for Coach Fife, the youngest and brightest head coach here in the country, and just looking to get things turned around.
Tony, you come here from Middle Tennessee State. You've had a chance to see IPFW from the opposite side of the court.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up coming up here as well.
Like you said, I was at Middle Tennessee State last year, and we actually came up and played in January, and we're fortunate to get out here with a win. But I'm originally from Whitehall, Michigan, and graduated from Mars Hill College in North Carolina, and spent some time working for Coach Tungate when he was at Lincoln Memorial University as a head coach. And that's how my relationship with Coach Fife started. And again, like we all are, we're excited to be here and really think that good things are happening at IPFW and are excited to work for Coach Fife.
Well, welcome aboard, that's for sure. Jeff Tungate, you come here via Oakland University, and you had a taste of something that Dane had a taste of, and that's getting a chance to play in the big dance. You had a chance to coach in the big dance last year. Talk about your experience there and also how things progressed, how you came from Rochester, Michigan, here to Fort Wayne.
Well, Oakland was my alma mater. My wife graduated from Oakland as well, and so it was a real enjoyable time to be able to put your alma mater in the NCAA tournament. It was something that it was a lot of fun and something that everyone needs to experience at some point in their career and hopefully every year, and that's something we want to do here at Fort Wayne. Dane called me and said that he had the job at IPFW and asked if I would come with him, and I've known Dane ever since he was born. Basically, I played for his dad in high school at Clarkston, and it was an easy decision for me to make to come down here to Fort Wayne, and I'm excited about what's going on here, and we want to accomplish the same things here that we're able to accomplish at Oakland and get IPFW into an NCAA tournament. And I think the community would really enjoy that, and the school would enjoy that, and it'd be a great experience for everybody involved.
That's for sure. Joel Cotton, you're no stranger to our audience. You've been here, and you're able to stay here on the new staff. Briefly again, you went to Huntington, you went to IU, you're from Huntington, you attended IU running track. And just a quick thought on the transition for you from one staff to the other.
Yes, I just completed my master's degree in professional communication. It's a Purdue University program here at IPFW, and I was fortunate enough to be able to remain on staff now full-time with Coach Fife. Definitely helped that I went to Indiana and made that connection that way. But like everyone else, I'm very fortunate to be here and remain on staff, and I look forward to working just as hard for him as I did for the other staff.
If we can, for a brief moment, let's break it down as to what specific responsibilities Dane has entrusted each of you with, and Joel, we'll start with you.
Currently, since we've been recruiting so heavily in the spring, I've had to organize some of our recruiting databases as far as putting our classes 06, 07, 08 recruits, kind of organizing them on the computer and on paper files so we can be a little bit more organized. That's still going to take some time as we get going, and then I'm sure I'll help out again with film exchange, getting tapes on scouting opponents next year, things like that in the future.
Jeff, you're the associate head coach. I got a funny feeling you may have a couple of more responsibilities than anybody else, but talk about what your duties are.
Well, I think right now our responsibilities are pretty similar. You know, our main objective right now is to get players for this upcoming season, so I think we're all involved in the recruiting aspect right now to get things ready for this upcoming fall. We'll get more specific once the season starts and once the kids get here in the late summer and early fall, but I'll be responsible for academics, making sure our kids are getting the job done in the classroom, and we'll have a hand in scouting and recruiting, mainly the state of Michigan, and we're all going to be involved in recruiting Indiana. Obviously, that's going to be our main recruiting base. But you know, right now our main focus for everybody is to get players for this upcoming season. And once we get that accomplished, we'll get a little bit more specialized in what we're going to do come fall.
Tony, Dane tells me that you're the camp director, and there's going to be a camp, and we can talk about it now, and we'll talk about it more a little bit later. But
we are going to have the first Dane Fife basketball camp here at IPFW this summer. It's going to be June 27th through July 1st, and it's open to all children, grades 2 through 8. It is going to be a day camp from 8 o'clock in the morning until noon. And we'll put a plug in. They can get any information that they want on our website at ipfw.edu or call the basketball office at 481-5729. And we would look forward to talking to anyone and getting as many kids out as we can.
What's the date of the camp again, please?
June 27th through the July 1st.
Okay. Jermaine, last but certainly not least, what are your responsibilities as of right now?
Right now, as far as my responsibilities right now are recruiting, trying to get players in here for Coach Fife so we can get this thing turned around. Also, I'm in charge of individual summer development, putting together a program for our players to follow and to work on the game and go from there for the whole summer.
Question that any of you can really answer. What do you see as the biggest challenge to the IPFW men's basketball program as you come in fresh?
I think right now is just changing the mindset. You know, I think it's been a while since IPFW has had a winning season, 12 years I believe, and I think it's just creating a mindset that we are going to win and we expect to win and that we're going to do whatever it takes to win. I think the biggest challenge is creating that mindset as a whole, and once we do that, I think we really can take off and get the program going in the direction we want to take it.
Tony, anything you want to add?
No, I agree with the mindset, and the thing where we're fortunate is we have a head coach with a great vision, an athletic director with a great vision, and a chancellor who are all on board and want to see a successful basketball program put on the floor, and that's a good situation to be in.
Jermaine, anything?
Well, the great thing is coming to Fort Wayne, everybody wants to win here. Everybody's excited about winning, and I think that's one of the most important things you can have in your program. The whole atmosphere has to be positive, and I think we get that from everyone coming here.
JC?
I agree with Coach Tungate as far as developing that winning mindset. We've shown over the past couple of years that we can compete at the Division I level. We can compete with major conference schools, but it's not just a matter of competing. We want to change that into a winning mindset. And I think that'll be the biggest challenge.
What's the reaction been so far? You've hit the recruiting trails. And what's the reaction been recently as far as trying to obtain these quality student athletes to come here to Fort Wayne?
I think it's been a lot easier than expected. I know people are excited to have the opportunity to play for Coach Fife. They're excited to come to a city like Fort Wayne. I mean, it's one of the, I got to be honest, I wasn't real familiar with Fort Wayne until I got down here, and it's one of the best sports cities I've ever been around. People love sports. They love to support their athletic programs here in this city, and not having another basketball team in town, there's no competition for us to compete against. You know, having been at Oakland and having to compete against the Pistons, those things affect your crowd, affect your support of your community. We're here, IPFW basketball is it, and you're in the best basketball state in the country, in Indiana. And so I think from a recruiting standpoint, people are excited about what Fort Wayne has to offer. So I think it's been a lot easier to bring in recruits here and to let them understand what a great city this is and what a great opportunity to play at IPFW is. I think the future is definitely bright, and it's been a lot easier than I first anticipated before I took the job.
I'm told we're out of time. Thank you each for spending a little bit of your valuable time with us. Again, welcome to the Summit City.
Thanks.
And much success to each of you as the four of you and Dane Fife try to create a a new and exciting program for men's basketball here at the university. But thanks again, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
We've been chatting with the support staff for head coach Dan Fife, Jermaine Kimbrough, Tony Chasick, Jeff Tungate, and Joel Cotton. We'll take a break and then bring Dane back and put the crystal ball on him, talk about the future for IPFW men's basketball. That's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Mom, Dad, you know we love kids, and I've made a decision that will totally change my life. Cameron's too. It's a huge responsibility, leading someone into, who knows, communication or science or math. That's what life's all about, right? Learning so you can pass on knowledge to younger minds. Dad, Mom, I want to be a teacher.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We're rejoined now by the head coach of IPFW men's basketball, Dane Fife. We've just met your staff, Dane. They all seem to have it together. I think they're excited, almost as excited as you are, about what's going to happen here at IPFW.
Well, Mike, I think they're just as excited, if not more. When you have a chance to coach at a Division I school and you see the excitement that Fort Wayne has for basketball, the state in general for basketball, you have to be excited. And some of these gentlemen that I've brought on staff are not familiar with Indiana. In fact, I think Joel is the only one besides myself. So some of these, Jeff and Jermaine and Tony are like little kids in a candy store. They're in awe of basically the whole ultimate basketball experience that the state of Indiana provides. But again, I think it's important to understand that these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing, and they know how to get it done. They've either worked under programs or done it themselves in terms of winning and understanding the complete winning commitment. And they're going to you'll be impressed. I do know that.
You also wanted to mention one other signee.
Well, we signed so many kids, it's tough for me to remember, but our most recent commitment was from a kid by the name of Mohamed Essaguer. He's originally from Algeria. His mother moved over here. She's a doctor down in Florida, but Mohamed is 6'11". He has a great feel for the game. I think that he hasn't been playing for very long. He's been playing for about 5 years. Played tennis in high school and soccer. And basketball is still fairly new to him, but Mohamed at 6'11", he's mobile. And I think he has a very good feel for the game. And we're excited to have Mohamed on board. He comes from Florida, but he's a junior college transfer, but we think he can really help us.
Tony mentioned the camp, the first annual, hopefully first of many Dane Fife basketball camps. Again, the phone number 481-5729, area code 260-481-5729. You got to be excited about setting up your own camp and having a chance to work with the youngsters, the beginning of the building blocks to hopefully many good years to come.
And it's important to understand that we want to reach out to the community. We want to say thank you to the community. We want to give young kids like I had, like Jeff Tungate had, like Jermaine Kimbrough had. We want to give young kids the opportunity to work with Division I, top of the line, professional coaches that really understand the game and can teach the game. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And look, we're not trying to make money off this camp. We're just trying to get it known that we're here to not only provide entertainment, but to serve the community. And so it's cheap. It's not an expensive camp. We just want the youngsters to know that we're here to help them, and we're here to provide for the community like the community supports us. So it's going to be June 27th to July 1st, as we've mentioned, and IPFW.edu is a simple way to log online and get your camp brochure and come on over. We're going to have some players there. We're going to have our staff. You're going to have a lot of accessibility to us. You're going to be able to learn as young kids. You think about going to camp and working with the head coach as a second and third and fourth grader. That's something that I enjoy doing, and I'd wish that when I went to camp the head coaches were there, and they're usually not. And we do have a lot of responsibilities, but it's also important to show parents and young kids that show them the way, show them to what they need to do when they're grown-ups. So we're excited about the camp.
We're out of time. I hate to say it, but it's been fun. Thank you for coming over. Thank you for bringing your staff over here. We look forward to some exciting times ahead with IPFW men's basketball, and if things work out, hopefully, we'll talk more in the fall about hopefully the Dane 5 show here on College 56 Sports.
Can't wait, Mike.
Thank you much. Have a good rest of your summer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Playing some golf and recruiting. But thank you again.
Thank you. We've been chatting with Dane Fife, the head men's basketball coach here at IPFW, along with his staff, Jermaine Kimbrough, Tony Jasic, Jeff Tungate, and Joel Cotton. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Thanks to our sponsor, Ryan Steakhouse, located on North Clinton Street across from Scott's Foods. Thanks to you for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW Athletics. We invite you to come back again next week for another edition of the program, but until then, this is Mike Ma saying, have a great week and continue to go Dons.